It's time for Twig This Week in Google. We've got Stacey, we've got Jeff, and Ant's got the day off, so we've got Mike Masnick of Tech Dirt just in the nick of time. We will, of course, talk about the big tech story, not just of the week, but probably of the year, maybe even of the decade. The Department of Justice suing Google for monopoly. The ins and outs of that. We'll talk about the new Caren Act that was just passed in San Francisco, and Zoomtopia, some of the new features Zoom is bringing to the world. It's all coming up next on Twig. This Week in Google comes to you from Twit's LastPass Studios. Securing every access point in your company does not have to be a challenge. LastPass unifies access and authentication to make securing your employees simple and secure, even when they're working remotely. Check out lastpass.com/twit to learn more.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Twig, This Week in Google, episode 582, recorded Wednesday, October 21st, 2020, Hipster Antitrust. This episode of This Week in Google is brought to you by NetSuite. Get visibility and control over your financials, HR, inventory, e-commerce, and more with NetSuite by Oracle. Now's the time to upgrade to the world's #1 cloud business system. Let NetSuite show you how they can benefit your business with a free product tour right now at netsuite.com/twig. And by ESET. ESET protects businesses worldwide with internet security products and services backed by world-class research and tech support. Get an interactive demo at try.eset.com/twit and start your free trial today. It's time for Twig. This Week in Google, the show we cover the latest news from the Googleverse, Facebook, Twitter. But this week, I think it's going to be all Google all the time. Stacey Higginbotham is here from Stacey on IoT.com and the IoT podcast with Kevin Toffel. Hello, Stacey.
Hello, everyone.
Bravo, brava. Also with us, the Leonard Tao Professor for Journalistic Innovation at the Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism at the City University of New York, Mr. Jeffrey Jarvis. Professor Jarvis. Jeffrey Jarvis. Yes. And Ant is taking the day off, but it makes it's actually a wonderful thing because it gives us a chance to have one of our favorite, I don't want to call him a blogger, writers on. Mike Masnick is in the data.
There's nothing wrong with the word blogger. The word blogger is a perfectly fine word.
I think I'm the only one left.
Yeah, the last blogger. Tech Dirt's Mike Masnick. And it's great to have you, Mike. If you don't read Tech Dirt every single day, you're missing some of the best.
Favorite guest.
Yeah, some of the best material.
Not only is it smart, y'all, but it's snarky and entertaining and accurate. And
blunt
my buddy
and
Carl
direct.
Bode also writes over there. Love it.
And should we go right into the Google thing? Because I'm really tempted to
As long as we don't spend the whole damn show on it. Ugh.
Wait, did something happen?
No, nothing happened. He's in the data center. He doesn't hear anything.
They updated some things on the Google displays, I think.
Yeah,
I mean, that happened.
We'll get to that when the Google Changelog hits. Actually, I want to do your story from today. You just filed this right before we went on the air about Toobin and Zoom and the New Yorker. But you actually say it's a perfect example of why we need Section 230. Section 230 has been under assault, not just from the right, but who unaccountably think that it's to blame for the fact that the president keeps getting censored on Twitter and Facebook, but from the left as well. Joe Biden even says we got to take a closer look.
People I know are talking to him about that.
Yeah, I think he'll. I'm sure. I think he'll hear.
And I don't mean from tech companies. I mean people in government.
But you quote Shoshana Weissman, who said that this is a perfect example of why we have Section 230. In the why?
I mean, do we need to go into what?
No. Just say Jeffrey Toobin in a Zoom meeting did something reprehensible and has been suspended from the New Yorker.
Right. But the idea is basically just that Jeffrey Toobin should be responsible for his own actions, and we wouldn't want to hold Zoom legally liable for what Jeffrey Toobin was doing.
Oh, yeah, it's not
Zoom.
Zoom's fault.
Or WNYC, which was the host of the Zoom call. In some worlds, they would also be liable for his.
Exactly.
Yes.
Because they set up the forum in which he did the thing for which he could potentially face some legal consequences. And the whole nature of Section 230 is that it's really just about putting the legal liability on whoever actually did the thing. And in this case, that's Jeffrey, and it's not WNYC, and it's not Zoom, and therefore Section 230 is that's all that it does effectively, and most importantly, is placing the legal liability on who deserves it, on the person who actually did the action.
I do have to say, Shoshana's piece in the Washington Examiner does have a sentence you don't normally hear in the Washington Examiner. She says this is known as the moderator's dilemma. In terms relevant to the Toobin news, Zoom would either have to allow everybody to show their genitals on the platform or make sure no one did.
Yes. Yes, the hypotheticals are
this regulatory burden would likely be crushing to new market entrants who didn't even know this was a possibility, who lacked the resources for robust moderation. So, more to the point, she says conservatives who are concerned about Facebook blocking conservative voices don't understand that if without 230, they'd have to be more aggressive, not less.
Yeah. And this is like, I think I want to write a piece probably for later this week or next week that basically says like, hey, Republicans, if you actually got your wish and got rid of 230, everything that you think it would do, the opposite is probably true, because it really, they're mad that certain content is being taken down. And yet without 230, more of that content is likely to be taken down because you're increasing the legal liability for the platforms and they don't want to risk it. So they're going to, be much quicker about taking stuff down. Yeah. Or you create the scenario where it says, please hold 5 hours for this tweet while we wait for the next reviewer in the queue to check out your tweet and make sure it's okay.
Yeah, and Twitter and Facebook conceivably could do that, although it seems like it would be challenging. But for instance, I have a chat room that's going right now. If I'm responsible for every bit of content in that chat room, it's going away.
Chat room.
Goodbye, chat room.
Yeah.
I have forums. If I'm responsible for everything posted there, I don't have the resources to moderate that. Goodbye, forums.
Goodbye, live feed.
Goodbye. Well, now with the live feed, I guess I'd be responsible for you guys.
Yes, if I say something just awful and horrible right now, you'd be
let me
liable
ask you a question. Because if you went on MSNBC and said something awful, couldn't MSNBC be, let's say you said something libelous, couldn't MSNBC be sued for libel? Or no? Would they be protected by 230?
So that is one area where it is where there is some weirdness, right? In that scenario, yes, MSNBC, if it's broadcasting over TV, could be found liable for libel. There are a bunch of extenuating circumstances in which they might not be, but they wouldn't have Section 230 protections.
It was specifically for internet publishers.
Right. Yeah. They would have the protection in some sense for the online stream. And so this is the one area where 230 is slightly, and then, we could go way deep into the legal weeds about why it's not really that different. But there is a little area where the liability regimes are slightly different between online and offline.
There's another difference, which is that MSNBC is regulated. Well, I guess MSNBC maybe not because it's regulated by the FCC. But they're not.
They're not under the public airwaves.
So let's just say NBC, not MSNBC.
So NBC is a different story because NBC is public airwaves, and therefore they're a regulated entity and clearly under the FCC. Though, as of today, the FCC has announced its new theory for why it gets to regulate the entire internet. Also,
that was my segue. Yeah, that was my segue because traditionally it's been considered, well, the FCC has no jurisdiction, and Congress, which is the chief and sole responsibility of Congress to tell the FCC what they can and cannot do, what their jurisdiction is, has always said they'd have no jurisdiction over the internet.
Right. Ron Wyden, the co-author of 230, said to Ajit Pai on Twitter, "Back off, fella."
Yeah.
But the FCC has been doing this for a while. Not the 230, but they've been trying to kind of work their way up the stack, as it were. They started back.
With net neutrality.
Wheeler started it.
Yeah.
Well, no, net neutrality is okay.
Because they're regulating
neutrality
telecommunications companies.
Yeah, that's a legit thing. But they were talking about apps, and people were getting a little concerned if they were going to go further into apps, which would be a noticeable change for the FCC. But they didn't do that.
Ajit Pai, October 15th, almost a week ago, said that there is bipartisan support in Congress to reform Section 230, and that the U.S. Department of Commerce, and actually that was the president's executive order, petitioned the commission to clarify ambiguities in Section 230. They were acting at the president's behest. Clarence Thomas, the justice of the Supreme Court, weighed in on this, saying that courts have relied upon policy and purpose arguments to grant sweeping protections to the internet platforms, 230, that appear, he says, to go far beyond the actual text of the provision. So what is the justification that Ajit Pai proposes?
Sucking up to Trump.
Well, besides the fact, we know why, we know his motivations, but he's got to, we know what he wants to do. He's got to come up with a rationale.
His rationale is, Mike, you go ahead.
Well, no, go ahead, Stacey.
Stacey,
you have an opinion on this. I don't.
No, I was just going to, because I read the general counsel's statement on why they think they can do this. Is they talked about it coming from the communications. Oh, okay, I can do this. Maybe
the Communications Act of 1934.
Communications Act from 1934. Then they said, hey, they updated that back in 1996 with, I can't remember that act. And basically the idea is that somewhere in there, they want to, where I'm looking for their, it's Section 509. Is that what it was? Yeah.
So I actually have the Thomas Johnson Jr.'s statement. He's the general counsel for the FCC. He says the chairman's decision was consistent with my advice that the FCC has the legal authority to interpret Section 230 due to the unique interest generated by this proceedings. I have now written this memo so that you can understand it. He says these issues are complex, but our legal authority is straightforward. We have the authority to interpret all provisions of the Communications Act, which includes Section 230. It's in the Communications Act. Is that general point of view supported by legal theoreticians, Mike?
It's complicated is the unfortunate answer. They are correct that Section 230 is part of the Communications Act, and which is almost an accident of history. And if you look at the legislative history, you have both Chris Cox and Ron Wyden saying that they wrote what became Section 230 deliberately to keep the FCC away from having any regulatory authority over the internet. However, it is in the Communications Act, which the FCC has some authority over. Part of the issue, however, is that the FCC has spent, many, many years now, a couple of decades, trying to insist that it didn't actually have that authority. And in fact, part of the net neutrality arguments are that it doesn't have that authority over, broadband access providers. And so they're sort of flipping every argument that they made. This particular FCC, including this particular general counsel, has made and is still making in court about net neutrality, and they're flipping that on its head and saying, of course we have regulatory authority over websites. And so I actually wonder if this is going to show up. I would be surprised if it doesn't show up in the still ongoing legal fight over net neutrality, because here they are saying the exact opposite of what they're saying in court.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, yes. Very interesting.
Yeah.
So it's a quite, yes.
And they're claiming they got this from several court rulings, correct? The court rulings around towers.
Yeah, he quotes a number of the D.C. Circuit opinion in the Comcast versus the FCC. He quotes the Iowa Utilities Board in the city of Arlington. There's quite a few precedents.
Well, yeah, because it looks like his precedents are coming from court cases, just assertions like tied to the legislation itself.
And it comes from the fact that they consider the Section 230 ambiguous. And so, for instance, the Supreme Court in the National Cable and Telecoms Association versus Brand X Internet Services, the FCC this is the Supreme Court, may act as the authoritative interpreter of ambiguous provisions in statutes that it administers. Of course, he does in fact mention that Congressman Cox said we do not want to create a bureaucracy regulating the internet. That's why we're doing this. But he says doesn't matter because we have the right to do it. I think some of this is going to be up much like the DOJ lawsuit against Google might be up in the air because we've got an election less than 2 weeks away. And there'll be a new Congress in a month or two. There may or may not be a new president in January. Some of this may be up in the air, right? I mean, Congress is the ultimate arbiter of what the FCC can and cannot do.
Right, but you're going to see regulators normally in the Trump world, regulators would try to take away every bit of regulation they could before January.
Right.
Right. And historically,
Go ahead, Stacey.
So in a normal time, like before Trump, let's call it, yes, an election would change things a little bit. Like you might see agencies deprioritize things, but you rarely would see them like wholesale about face on something. The current Justice Department, though, is very unique compared to others. So it is really like here, the election actually has a lot of big consequences for things like this, because I do think we'll see emphasis shifted. Although there are the attorneys generals of several states who are still trying to sue. Yeah. So we'll see where that's totally different and might still be relevant.
Can I make one more point on the FCC jurisdiction arguments here over why they think they have the authority over 230? We mentioned they named all those different legal cases, which makes it look like they have some legal backing for what they're doing. If you look at the details of every one of those, every single one involves a common carrier situation that they're regulating, and the assumption among pretty much everyone that I've ever spoken to on these things is that the FCC's authorities regarding communications only applies to common carriers. So what they're really doing here in claiming Section 201 gives them authority is to effectively claim the entire internet is a common carrier without going through the process of actually proving that, which is part of what had to happen in the net neutrality fight. So they're, among other things, among going back on everything that they said before and completely revamping the way that everyone has kind of viewed the FCC's authority going back effectively forever, they're also skipping a bunch of the normal procedures that they would go through in order to define a regulated entity. So it's a really bizarre move by the FCC, and I think it's also one that they might actually regret if the presidency changes, in a couple months, and also if Congress changes, because they're making these statements now that they would not be happy if there was a Democratic FCC who was making the same arguments about regulating websites.
Well, that's kind of you could that sentence applies with the various changes across the entire board. They would not be happy. So what are the areas of ambiguity on Section 230? How could we make Section 230 better?
By leaving it the F alone. But go ahead.
What are the real areas of ambiguity, or what are they claiming are the areas?
I'm not worried about what they're claiming, because honestly, it's very clear what the motivation here is, and we can just kind of ignore that. But let's say honorable, well-intentioned, well-meaning people would like to improve Section 230. What would we do to improve it? Is there anything needs to be done? Is it ambiguous? It's worked very well. And Jeff has many times mentioned a book called, what is it, the 23 words that created
26 words
that created the internet.
Jeff Kossoff.
Yeah. Which if there are there are a number of people in the chat room who say, blah, blah, get rid of it. It needs to end right now. Should read that book before they open their stupid mouths.
Please.
It's you should very much read the book because it Jeff is, I would say, more skeptical of 230 than like I am or I should clear Jeff Kossoff, the author of the book, is a little bit more skeptical, but he also comes to the conclusion that there's no good way to modify the law that won't cause more problems. And there's a
so it's not perfect. Like all laws, it's not perfect, but it's hard to imagine a way to make it better.
Yeah, and the only ways that I could think of making it better are exactly the kinds of things that no one in Congress would ever agree to. There is some it's not ambiguity, but there is there's the two key sections to 230 are C1 and C2, and they're drafted in ways that are not exactly parallel. And so if you could redraft them so that they effectively clarified exactly what it is that they are applying to, that might be useful. But the courts have basically read it that way anyway. So there's also a typo. They could fix the typo. Jeff Kossoff is really big on trying to get them to fix the typo. They reference a wrong section at one point, and even I think the Cornell, which hosts all the legal text, has a little note saying we think it means, I forget which section they point to instead of the actual section, but they could fix that. That would help.
I mean, Leo, it's because it's 26 words. It's elegantly simple, right? It's sword and shield, so that we can have conversation online. You will not be liable for things others do, so that we can have that conversation. But so we can have a good conversation, you have freedom to take stuff off without setting precedent. It's wonderful in its simplicity. And I don't think it needs a damn thing. And the problem is, if you open that door, you slice the bologna again. It got sliced for FOSTA SESTA, and you slice it again for hate speech, and you slice it again for copyright, and you slice it again for something else.
That's the issue.
And then it's a mess.
If you want to insist on moderation, then it has to be moderation you agree with. Otherwise, well, then we don't want moderation. So it's it's really whose ox is being gored. Is there any merit to the argument that this was created in the early days of the internet and the internet's changed and it doesn't hold as well, or maybe it's not as up to date as it should be? No, it works. Nope. Yeah. It's actually like almost a Bill of Rights in its subtlety and clarity.
It is the First
simplicity.
Amendment of the net.
Yeah.
Yes,
Jeff is exactly right. It is the First Amendment of the internet. It is very clear. It is understood. Basically, every court has interpreted it the same. There are a couple of cases on the edges where things have been weird, but for the most part, it's clear. It's concise. It works. It as someone I know says, it's set up in the incentives to get the most good stuff online and the least bad stuff.
And there are exceptions in the case of. You can't say there's criminality. There are exceptions. You can moderate criminality. There are exceptions. It's not
the laws that still stand.
Yeah.
Right. But it just holds that you're not a publisher this way. And the problem is that publishers still talk as if it didn't exist. Oh no, if I touch that forum, I'm going to be in trouble. That's BS in the US. That's not true.
Yeah,
it's not true at all.
So if I were to publish,
could be in Europe, it could be elsewhere.
Well, that's another problem. But there's no First Amendment elsewhere either. I mean, there's we have some very, very, very good provisions in the Constitution that we don't want to dismantle. And I think maybe the solution is to make this a constitutional amendment. Maybe add it to the Bill of Rights, perhaps.
Oy.
Well, I know that's not going to happen.
Because what the Republicans are doing now. The whole cancel culture argument is they're trying to say you have to earn your Section 230 by allowing my hate speech up.
Right.
And the problem here is the third leg to the stool is compelled speech is not free speech. So if government tells you must put something back up, which is happening in Italy with Facebook, right? We talked about this months ago. There was a fascist site that Facebook chose to take down and the court told them to put it back up. That's not free speech either.
Right. All right. So there are a number of assaults. There's actually a number of things going on assaulting technology. The Five Eyes plus India and Japan have all come in favor. This includes the U.S., Canada, Australia, England, have all come in favor of backdoors to encryption. There's a really strong movement in that direction. There are a few areas we really want to kind of, as technologists, stand up and say, no, these are risky. And if you understand the issues, you will not make these modifications.
And that's the problem with this is where I'm not defending Google, Facebook, and Twitter. I'm defending the internet, because the fight against them is going to set precedents that are going to affect our speech on the net. And that's what worries me.
Yeah, Carl Bodie had a very good piece on Tech Dirt along those lines. We're going to get to that, actually, because really I think that's going to be most of the show.
It's the Tech Dirt show is what it is now.
Yeah, but I really think,
I like that.
I mean, look, we actually have not, this DOJ action against Google was announced on Tuesday, and we really haven't talked about it much. Or Monday, I guess. We haven't talked about it much on our shows. But I've been waiting till this show. This is the show where it belongs.
I should have finished reading the whole thing.
Well, we had a warm-up on Sunday with Cory Doctorow and Amy Webb, and instead of being a normal twit where we would talk about the latest iPhone release, we didn't talk about that at all. We talked about if it's possible to regulate big tech, how you would do it, and what, whether it can be done effectively, what the consequences would be. So it was kind of a good preamble to the conversation we're about to have. Mike Masnick is here from Tech Dirt. Couldn't be a better time to have Mike on. He's one of the most astute observers of these particular issues. It's almost like we planned it, Mike. Thank you for being here.
The universe planned it.
Jeff Jarvis, of course, from CUNY and the Craig Newmark, blah, blah, blah. Thank you, Craig Newmark, for blah, blah, blah. And, right? Is that fair? Should I say that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
No, it's good.
Yeah?
That's perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Leave your camera on. And no, I'm joking. It's a joke. And Stacey Higginbotham from StaceyOnIoT.com. Our show today brought to you by a brand new sponsor. Very excited to welcome NetSuite. I'm very familiar with NetSuite. Everybody in this line of business probably is. NetSuite gives you visibility and control over everything in your business, your financials, your HR, your inventory, your e-commerce, everything you need in one place instantaneously. You may not know this. I bet you do if you use it. QuickBooks and spreadsheets are slowing you down. If you're tired of working on multiple platforms, my poor wife has a screen that is about 50 inches wide because she has to have all the windows open for all the things. If you're ready to take your business to the next level, now's the time to upgrade to NetSuite. If you're running a fast-growing, small or medium-sized business, times are tough. It's hard to keep up. It's hard to know, what to do, to analyze it. You need a solution that's constantly evolving to meet your needs, and that's why NetSuite is the world's #1 cloud business system. NetSuite gives you cloud-based solutions, streamlines mission-critical business processes, reduces IT costs, lets you easily scale and future-proof your business with an agile business platform that evolves as you evolve, as your needs change. You can save time and money, close with confidence. You'll be able to speed up, make it more efficient, the financial close. You'll be able to maintain compliance with accounting standards. Your reports will be accurate. Financial accuracy, after all, is everything. Drill down into the underlying details, understand what's impacting your business, and get real-time information. Improve your business's performance with real-time metrics and role-based dashboards. You're never in the dark about where your money's going or what's happening. Lots of very happy customers in the world, like Commvault. They turned to NetSuite's cloud solution as the platform that could dramatically reduce complexity and provide an agility they needed. The Suite Cloud development platform has enabled Commvault to support unique processes and to integrate with third-party cloud applications, apps from NetSuite partners around the company's updated environment. SolarWinds, another great customer, says we needed more than just a good accounting solution. We had to act responsibly, manage growth, and NetSuite provided the business application infrastructure to do exactly that. If you're paying for multiple systems, it's costing you more and giving you less. You need NetSuite. NetSuite delivers what others can't. That's why over 22,000 companies are using NetSuite right now. Let NetSuite show you how they'll benefit your business with a free product tour. Just go to netsuite.com/twig, NETSUITE, netsuite.com/twig. Schedule your free product tour right now. netsuite.com/twig. Welcome, NetSuite, to the Twig family of companies. I like saying that. As if there's a family of companies. It's really more a family of sponsors. But okay, welcome. It's good to have you. All right, before we get to Google, there is one other story. Quibi.
Quibi.
Oh, Quibi. Oh, Quibi, we hardly knew ye. According to the Wall Street Journal, it's all over for Quibi. Jeffrey Katzenberg. They don't mention Meg Whitman much anymore. I don't know if she's moved on already or she's taken a nap. I don't know. According to the Wall Street Journal, Jeffrey Katzenberg shopped it around, said, Apple, you want our content, don't you? Crickets. Anybody? So according to the journal, Quibi is shutting down. Remember, they got $1.75 billion in venture capital just a couple of years ago. This was the streaming service that was going to bring Hollywood to Silicon Valley. It's that convergence thing all over again, and they're going to show YouTube what it's really all about when you bring these great Hollywood creatives. That Jeffrey Katzenberg is a story master, and you bring all those skills and you spend some money to get high production values. You bring them to short videos on your mobile devices.
The PTSD of his own career on TV.
You know, step 3, profit. Actually, then there's step 4, fire sale.
And nobody would buy it.
Nobody would buy it.
Yeah.
There was nothing to buy.
In one hand, you think it launched in April, right? So beginning of the pandemic, and it's shutting down. The pandemic's still happening. So in some ways, it has gone on forever.
Is it like quarantine?
We have been in the pandemic.
Can you say it's another victim of COVID-19?
No, this was overfunded and overproduced and just a dumb idea. I mean,
this you could call stupid.
Yeah.
$5 a month.
Classic Hollywood.
It is, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
the arrogance of Hollywood, and it's exactly, even, and I don't know Schadenfreude here. Well, maybe a little. Schadenfreude.
We produce 3-hour shows. We are very different.
We don't do short form. And by the way, if you tilt us sideways, we stay sideways. According to the journal, I actually did not know about this. Quibi had been plagued with problems since its April launch, facing lower than expected viewership. I knew that. And a lawsuit from a well-capitalized foe, hedge fund Elliott Management.
Oh, yeah, because of the way their videos, you could turn. Was it the turning of the videos?
Turnstile. Yeah, that's this groundbreaking, I'm putting that in air quotes for those of you listening, technology, which means you could watch it in portrait mode and you'd get one shot. And then if you turned it into landscape mode, the perspective might change. It wouldn't merely rotate the video. Content creators could actually use Turnstile to give you different points of view of the same action. Apparently, a company called Interlude US said, that's our technology. You have to stop it or license it. Quibi said, no, we're not infringing on their patents. It's a meritless lawsuit. But this litigation, it's funny because Jeffrey Katzenberg is notoriously litigious.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
So Facebook refused to buy it. NBC refused to buy it. Whatever it was, take the content. It just goes away. I put up another story just a minute ago. Variety talking about the hand-wringing at the broadcast partners because they were getting a big hunk of that $1.75 billion. It's just like the 2000 crash, right? Venture capital used to buy out other people. It was a Ponzi scheme of sorts. And so 60 Minutes had a Quibi version of 60 Minutes. They hired the brilliant Wesley Lowery to do it from the Washington Post, and he was there up in the air, and they're trying to find some, they have investments. It's the pivot to video strikes again.
They also they're in, the money, the investment came from Disney, Comcast's NBC Universal, AT&T's Warner Media. So
I don't feel any sympathy.
No,
just let
I
it
wonder if
burn.
any money goes back. Was there anything left in the
but
bank?
what about poor Chrissy Teigen and Anna Kendrick and Liam Hemsworth?
They're going to be just fine. Seriously. They're going to be fine. I worry
Titus Burgess. He needs this work. Actually, he doesn't.
At NBC News, some staffers who worked for the unit's now shuttered Peacock Productions were given work on several Quibi series.
Oh, Lord.
I do. Yeah, I feel bad for like non-famous people who got Quibi deals, but hopefully they'll be okay.
There's lots of money being thrown around by YouTube and Twitch and Facebook.
But this stuff,
TikTok.
I didn't watch any of it because I didn't subscribe. But I've got to believe, given its parentage, it's crap. It's
not,
big old Hollywood.
It's well-produced crap.
Well, but no.
It's entertaining. No, it's entertaining.
It's entertaining. I watched some of it, but it wasn't entertaining enough to pay $5 a month. Plus, by the way, even with $5 a month, you got ads. You'd had to pay more to get rid of the ads.
Who were the 500,000 schlubs who did this? Was it?
No. This is what happened.
They had it free.
3 months free, and after the 3 months ran out, we reported on this. Apparently, only about 72,000 people remained.
No. So I went through that with Entertainment Weekly, where we had a risk-free offer, 4 weeks free, and young people, kids, teenagers, quote unquote subscribed. And then when the bill came, they said, I don't have any money. I'm not paying for this. I got 4 free issues. And so then that's when they went after me and saying, they're all canceling. I said, they weren't canceling. They just didn't.
You never were subscribers.
Money. They were never subscribers. You counted them. You shouldn't have.
I have to say I'm a little sad. As a content creator, I feel bad for anybody who creates content and can't make it work, and there's a little schadenfreude because it is, after all, Hollywood's idea. You got this. You got the sense that the kind of patronizing sense that, oh, you Silicon Valley guys, you think you can do. This happens to podcasting right now. All the big media companies are doing podcasts. Yeah. Oh, you think you can do podcasts, but do you have Will Ferrell? No.
I don't think. I think when you create content, that is your job, right? Yeah. You have to be attuned to your audience.
This happens, though.
And so
they're used to it. Katzenberg's had flops.
Yeah. I don't feel bad for them. Yes, there was a lot of hubris on this will be well produced. This isn't like your Snapchat stories.
Exactly.
Or Instagram stories.
Yeah.
Whoever's stories.
Or TikTok.
Anyway, but they also didn't come at it from the internet is all about your audience and knowing them and talking to them. And by God.
You have to think, though, that Katzenberg's sitting in his office, 4 martinis in, going, some guy on a longboard drinking cran apple juice is doing
an audience of what?
Doing better than my multi-million-dollar billion Chrissy Teigen in court.
It's also the revenue model. I mean, no one would pay $5 to watch, what was his name? Jose Acado?
Avocado?
The potato.
I don't know. Yeah.
No one would pay that much money for that, but it's free.
It's free. It's TikTok. But this is.
Yeah.
But it's also the fact that TikTok is user generated, where you have a million different attempts, and there's so many other things on there that. And even the guy who did the cranberry juice skateboarding video said he didn't think it was anything special.
It wasn't.
He was just trying to get to work.
It wasn't. His car had broken down. He had a longboard in the trunk. And he thought, well, I'll make a TikTok while I drink my cranberry juice. And by the way, Fleetwood Mac's Dreams is now in the top 10 charts again. A song that was made 43 years ago.
This is Stacey's point. This is the audience doing this, right? When I'm reading up again on mass theory, and the idea was that, oh my God, we're going to give them what they want. No, we don't want to do that. We want to tell them what we're going to give them, and we just give it to them. They have no choice.
And I hope Hollywood has they've never seemed to learn this lesson, but they don't. But they are constantly. This is the two different models. We've talked about this before. The YouTube model, or the TikTok actually does it even better, which is make it really easy for as many people as possible to create content and post it. Give them music, give them all the pieces, give them all the parts.
Right.
you're going to get 1 million videos and then let the algorithm surface the ones people like so that you make an incredibly compelling product for free. All you had to do was create the product. And versus Hollywood, which says, no, we're going to make 10 movies. We know 9 of them are going to flop, but that big one is a tent pole. It's going to make so much money, we're going to be wealthy. And that model is failing in the face of YouTube, TikTok,
the blockbuster in a world of abundance. The blockbuster model dies because there's not enough. And music finally learned that. Sorry, Mike.
Yeah, and let me bring this back around to the earlier conversation, multiple earlier conversations. All of this is possible. The TikTok model, the YouTube model, all of that is possible because of Section 230.
Ooh, I like it.
That these sites can host this stuff.
Bringing it home.
And the Hollywood folks who are trying to get rid of Section 230 are because they're trying to turn the internet into something that can only do the broadcast model, the Hollywood model of well-produced, but you only get 10 a year, and we're going to decide for you. And that's the big difference. It's also why I'll bring it back even further. I'm all about making connections today. The reason that Joe Biden has suggested that he wants to get rid of 230 as well is because a whole bunch of his advisors come from Hollywood and come from the movie studios, and they're of the view that we have to change the internet away from this mass communications medium where everybody can participate and everyone can create to one in which the gatekeepers in Hollywood are the ones who decide what is the good content on the internet.
Advisor was a nice word for what they are. They're contributors.
Yeah, the money guys.
Sure.
But the other thing, Mike's quite right. There's the opportunity for talent to rise that in no way could rise otherwise. I'm reading a wonderful book right now called Distributed Blackness by Andre Brock Jr. About Black Twitter and Black culture and how it exists. And then there's other talents, right? There's Sarah Cooper, or have you heard of Blair Erskine?
No.
I put her on line 128. She's
one of my favorite lines.
Talent.
Brilliant, eh?
Oh, let's watch her.
128.
She's on.
Or at least hilarious.
She's on the Twitter.
It's about Toobin.
Okay, she says, "Can I play this, or is it going to get us in trouble?"
Yeah, I think you can play it. You're going to play it.
All right, let's turn the audio on. This is. She says, "I am Jeffrey Toobin's. I am Jeffrey Toobin's daughter, and I have something to say." Oh, where's the audio? Oh,
you didn't test your audio beforehand. You always do.
No, it's working.
It's Blair, Toobin Erskine here. And I just have a couple of things I want to say about my dad, Jeffrey Toobin. We know no daughter ever wants to talk about her dad's dangling, but here we are again.
Again?
Look, I know what my dad did was inappropriate, but you have to understand he's very, very old, and he still thinks it's 2008. And in 2008, you could get away with stuff like that. We know, ladies, we know, they did. And it's been really hurtful to me and my family and my dad to see that hashtag #MeToobin taken off on Twitter. Because I just feel like there's a more clever thing you could have come up with, like jeffing off. Whenever he does stuff like that, we say he's jeffing off. Hold on. What, Dad? Yeah, I'm doing it. It's going fine. My question is, as my dad's legal advisor, why was everybody looking at him? You know what I mean? Because on a Zoom call, you can see everybody. So you're saying that everybody was just looking at my dad with his little guy out? That's kind of weird. I think that's kind of weird. It was a work call, and they were doing an election simulation, and my dad feels very passionately about the election. Sue him. Sorry, don't sue him. Don't. If you're not masturbating during work calls in 2020, maybe you don't like your job. Maybe you need a new job. I'm just saying. He's been temporarily let go from his job. Hey, CNN hasn't fired him, though. CNN hasn't fired him because CNN loves to jerk each other off. That's something we say.
Oh,
I'm kidding. That was a joke. We love CNN. Please don't fire my dad. It's just crazy to me that this is what my dad is in the news for. Y'all aren't even talking about that time he knocked up that much younger woman he was having an affair with. And when she came to him, I'm pregnant, he was like, good luck. And she had to force him into taking a paternity test and paying child support. And I need to get off right now. I'm so sorry.
Okay, I have to point out, there's no way that would have succeeded in any mainstream traditional form of media, right? That is
just my point.
Yeah, that is Twitter. Yeah. Or maybe TikTok. It's a little long for TikTok, but that is sui generis. That is the medium.
That's what is enabled now.
Yeah,
is
now some people are saying,
culture
that's
we
too bad.
Never had. So as Mike's point about big old mass culture and it's competition. That's what all this fight and regulation is about, is the old guys going for protectionism with the old powers in politics. That's what happened in Europe with the, get ready for it, Leistungsschutzrecht. That's what's happened across regulatory boundaries, and that's what's happening with the discussion about 230, and I'll bring it back home to you, Ren, and the Google Antitrust. It's all about protectionism.
Wouldn't it be funny if we did all of these really fascinating, interesting, fun stories and completely forgot about the Google?
And never got to
that.
it.
Never got to it. I'm going to continue to tease it.
Wait. In fact,
As long as we keep tap dancing around it.
Yeah.
But to clean your brain, did you all see the second graders on Zoom when their teacher went away?
So this is from Good Morning America. Please don't sue us.
Can everyone hear me? But we'll try and at least discuss.
Second grade, teacher's gone.
Guys, what happened? She left the meeting.
I feel so sorry for second graders that have to go to class.
She left the meeting. It kicked her out the internet. Yeah. You guys see me?
All of you guys, I see that there's a little record sign at the top of the screen. So the teacher's recording this. She can watch us and see that we're
She's the
not
Stephanie
behaving.
Higginbotham of that class.
Yeah, I know.
And the principal.
And the principal could see this.
Yeah,
Look at those. It's like,
That
that's
should be
creepy.
serious trouble.
No, but I'm just like muting my mic because I don't want to talk.
So we should behave.
Yeah.
Were you like that
you're
in
right.
school, Stacey? I bet you were.
Yeah.
Which one
My
is
mom
Jeff?
told me that. I'm eating gummies.
Because if the principal finds out that video of if we were being bad right now, she would see us being
That's a good
very
parent.
bad,
Whoever that
and
kid's
we would
parent
be
is
in
good.
big trouble with our parents.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm that kid. I am that kid right there.
You're that
one.
dark?
Yeah. No, not that one. I'm the little boy.
This means we're in trouble. Not toast.
That's me. That's me right there.
our number, our phone.
And whoever said we'll be toast, whoever said that, I'll maybe have toast for breakfast tomorrow.
I said that. That sounds really bad.
See, they're doing fine.
They don't know our number. I said
You're learning cooperation.
with toast and eggs. That sounds really good with lettuce.
Oh my God, it's like Twig,
Not
except they're
eggs.
not talking about queso.
Okay, that was great. Thank you,
Isn't
Jeff.
that the best?
That was
Isn't
great.
that the best?
I liked 128, but 130, line 130 was even better.
I had to do that to clear your palate and your mind from 128. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that this is a point well made. I mean, I don't want Hollywood to go away. I like feature films. I like
years.
You know, I like well, for instance, Aaron Sorkin's The Trial of the Chicago 7. Have you seen that on Netflix? He wrote it, he directed it. A lot of great actors. That's a Hollywood production. That's not going to be on TikTok.
Sorkin drives me berserk.
Yeah, but there's no Sorkinisms in it.
Really?
But
Really?
where is
Goodness.
it?
It's
It's on Netflix.
right?
Oh, good
It's
point.
on
It's
Netflix.
streaming. Never
Yeah.
mind. Netflix is the new
Right?
Hollywood, though. Let's face that. We know that.
It certainly is, but where did it come from? It came up from a Silicon Valley perspective.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
And
So
if
that-
you look at how Netflix like bifurcates their audience and does like different social media accounts for different groups of people and targets things there, that's the true Silicon Valley. That's probably would have helped Quibi, whatever, a little bit more. Like, I only saw ads for that service. I mean, there's two things. There's the business model and the way they tried to find their audience, and then there's the content itself.
Well,
Content.
it's kind of funny because, I mean, look, Katzenberg's created some great stuff. There's nothing. Jeffrey Katzenberg.
Name two.
Shrek.
Okay.
Shrek's pretty good.
That's one.
And Shrek 2 through
Shrek
5.
2 through 5. Okay, he had one good idea. No, he's good, made some good stuff. But I thought it was funny that his idea of reaching out to Silicon Valley and get some technical expertise was hiring Meg Whitman. That was, that was the mistake.
Yes.
So
Though apparently they didn't get along, right? One of the articles was that like each of them had a separate floor in the massive Quibi building, and they wouldn't go near each other.
Yeah. There was a lot of. There's a lot. Notice they don't mention Meg at all. They said Jeffrey Katzenberg went around trying to sell the content and all that.
You know what? I think that's probably fine for her. If I were Meg Whitman, I'd be like, you just be money
She's backing slowly away from the Quibi. Just slowly backing away.
Well, the story about Meg Whitman this week was that she might be considered for a Joe Biden cabinet position.
Yeah, they're looking for Republicans who aren't tainted, is what they're looking for. Good luck.
I don't know if Meg Whitman's the right person.
No.
I think George Will's going to slot right in. Anyway, I'm still working around the Google thing.
I was like, you're still not going there, huh?
I'm really trying to stay. Did you know that third-party sellers made more than $3.5 billion from Prime Day? 60% more than they made last year.
Prime Day sucked this year.
It had nothing good, did it?
I've never bought anything in Prime Day.
Me neither.
Did you buy anything?
I did. I bought something.
Oh, I did. I bought an Amazon Echo-enabled faucet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, as I'm realizing what I bought, and I'm like, I'm gonna have to tell them that I bought this.
You're gonna have to confess.
That's the type of thing we don't admit.
Yeah. No, she admits it. She not only admits it, she has more than one.
I sold my, it was in my other house, so I had to replace it.
Yeah, you can't take your faucet with you when you sell a house, can you?
Stacey,
what's that hole in the sink? That's where my Amazon-enabled faucet was. You can't have it.
Are these business expenses?
Hell yeah.
That one was not, actually.
Well, you should.
Some of my weirder purchases are, but that one was not, because I've already reviewed it. So
you should deduct some portion of that. You're going to review it on the site and stuff, right?
No, I already reviewed the. I mean, it's not something I can
totally
review
for personal use. Then you can't deduct it.
Yeah. I mean,
this is business
it's
water,
unlikely.
And this is personal water.
Right.
Right. Do you drink it during work?
Yeah. Just say, I never use that faucet when I'm not at work.
Well, now it's my office.
Right.
It's always been my office.
No, exactly.
There we go.
Yeah.
I bought this. You probably know about this, Stacey. The MyQ. Do you know about this garage door?
I got one too. Yes,
because
it's one of the best.
Beautiful.
I give this as a gift to people,
So
and
what
I
is
do it because
it's cheap.
It's the
like
MyQ.
$30. So Lisa, we have 10-year-old, 15-year-old garage door opener, and it has a clicker. Mm-hmm. As my father used to say, it's a clicker.
Yeah.
And
they used to click.
It's got a clicker. And
oh my gosh, y'all! It remotely lets you know if your garage door is open or closed.
Okay, I'm getting there. Patience. Give me some time. I have to tell a story all around it.
He's doing a broadcast thing, Stacey. He's an old-fashioned broadcast
We
guy.
still haven't talked about antitrust.
I'm getting older.
You're
and
operating
older.
at internet speed.
These
He's
stories-
operating at TV speed.
I'm Katzenberg speed. Where was I? At the clicker. So I got some extra clickers for Lisa because we have 2 garage doors. And
we asked Stacey, did you ever use a remote control that actually clicked, Stacey? No, she doesn't even know that
TV
existed.
remote controls. My grandparents.
That's how they made sound, and it was through the sound.
I have a Piezo-based light clicker that every time I touch it, it generates enough electricity so there's no battery inside, and that is.
That's clever. That is a clicker.
All right, but
anyway,
back to the MyQ, which
so
is an amazing
I wanted a
device.
better way to open it. So this is a Wi-Fi enabled garage door opener. You could put the app on your phone, and even from here, I could open the garage door. In fact,
it's really not great for opening the garage door like as you drive up. I'm going to tell you this right now.
Oh no, really? Well, because you have to take out your phone and everything, right?
Yeah, because you're not going to want to take out your phone. What it's good for is you set up the notifications. So if your garage door is open for more than a certain number of minutes.
So look, see, this is my garage door. Can you show over my shoulder? Do you not have that anymore? We may not have that camera anymore. The studio's, by the way, I just warning, slowly falling apart. And when all the cameras are gone, we're just going to shut down.
We're going to be an audio podcast, and then you're going to be huge, Leo.
We're going to go back to audio.
You're going to discover audio.
So it says, my garage door has been closed for 3 hours. Watch, though. I'm pressing the button, and the garage door now, and people are getting scared in my house because when the garage, actually it doesn't do this when it opens, but when it closes, it has a bright light and a loud alarm. See, it was just opened, and it even says who opened it, at what time. It is now open. Now, this is what's going to scare anybody who's in the house, because I'm going to close it now, and it makes the light goes flash, flash, and it goes beep, 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 like a backing up truck, beep, beep, because what they realized is that there's nobody there watching the garage door close. And if a small child, like a second grader, looking for toast, were to put their head in there, it would crush them to death. So
you don't have sensors that stop. I mean,
most garage doors still have sensors.
It has sensors.
It is
by law.
Because I just have one of those, 20-year-old garage door opener things.
Yeah, but you couldn't do that from here. You couldn't.
No, but why would I?
So Leo is telling this wrong. Okay, this is why it makes a great gift.
I had a clicker. Go ahead.
For people who care about security, because a lot of people have garage doors that open inside their house, right? You can get to your home through the garage. So if you leave your garage door open, not only is someone going to steal your tools, maybe, but they can also get into your house.
Yes.
A lot of people freak out about this.
Yes.
This thing lets you set a notification. So like if it's open for more than 10 minutes, it'll pop up on your phone. It'll be like, hey, your garage door's been open for 10 minutes. You want to close it? And you'll be like,
yes.
Oh, heck yeah. Boom. That's what this is
Or
for.
my wife,
and
Jeff, you left the garage door open all night again.
Exactly.
Exactly.
I can, in my bed, I can see if it's open.
Sure.
Right now it's closed. Here's the thing you're not going to want to do. See right here? This is why Amazon's selling it. You can also give the keys to your garage door to an Amazon delivery person so they can open your garage door, put your package in there, and close it.
Does it only open a certain amount?
No.
No.
That'd be smart.
There's
only
a
open
camera,
big enough for the package.
That would be good. Yeah.
There's a camera associated with it, so you can check that. I do think
mine doesn't
for
have
some
a camera.
People, no, you have to buy the camera with the key. Like if you want to use key,
this is Amazon's
and have that
key
feature.
service. And by the way, you pay $33, so it's cheap. It only covers one door, so I had to buy a second sensor for the other door. But if you want to use,
was $16.
You probably got a Prime deal.
Oh yeah, I did.
Yeah,
that's why I bought it on Prime.
I know.
Oh, okay. Sorry,
yeah.
I was like, man.
So well, that's right. That's why I mentioned this, because it would be a good Prime one. But you have to pay a subscription fee if you want to work with Echo or to do the key thing. There, you have to. That's
Chamberlain, and
the
reason they did that is because Chamberlain built their own cloud for MyQ, because they were like. They took the hubris, like we were talking about with Hollywood. Yeah. They took it for like an old school manufacturing company. It was like, we're not going to trust Amazon's cloud or anybody else's cloud. We're building our own. That's expensive.
Yeah, you're paying for it.
So that's why they're charging.
And it was hard to get working. It took me a while. I had to turn off 5 gigahertz on my Wi-Fi access point.
How do you hook it into the actual garage door?
I have a pro tip for anybody. Oh, sorry, because you mentioned 5 gigahertz.
So you do your pro tip, then I'll do my amateur question. Go ahead, pro tip.
Okay. Pro tip, if you have the Eros, I didn't know this, on your Eero router, and I bet Google adds it soon, you can actually go in and say, hey, there's a section in there that says, hey, I'm having trouble connecting a device.
Yeah, turn off 5G, yeah.
It turns it off.
You used to have to call them and they would do it, but they did add that to the interface, which is good. I'm all Ubiquity now, and the Ubiquity you could do that as
that's
well.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, Jeff. Old man question, hit us.
Tell me how you hook it up to your...
So it's really simple. There's a peel and stick. You pull the battery out and there's a Bluetooth. It's really tricky because everything has to be close enough to work. There's a Bluetooth thing you put on the garage door and it has to be oriented a certain way. That's how it knows the garage door is open, because it says, I'm sideways. Now I'm straight. I'm sideways. I'm straight. So that's all that does. That goes in the garage door. And then this thing, which is the light and the siren, this thing has to get onto your Wi-Fi. And that was where that was a little tricky. And then it uses Bluetooth to connect to the sensor on the door. And then because this is on your Wi-Fi, now you can use the app to talk to it.
It just mimics the clicker.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically.
You actually get up on
You
program it. You have to press the learn button, and it says, okay, I see it. No, but Chamberlain makes, I have a LiftMaster, and it turns out there's only one company that makes garage doors. Chamberlain just bought everybody. So it owns LiftMaster, so it worked.
Mike, did you get anything on Prime Day? Were you lusting after anything on Prime Day?
I did not. I do not have Amazon Prime.
What?
Alien.
Yes, I know. I am the remaining person without Amazon Prime.
You're gonna get deported.
So I looked,
My brother
but
doesn't have it.
Amazon was offering for Prime Day, you could get Prime for a week for $2. And so my wife actually did. So I think it probably ran out now. It's been a week, right? She did buy one thing off of Prime. She bought the 23andMe. They had
that was on sale.
Yeah, that was on
now,
sale.
Mike, let me ask you, how do you feel about that?
How do I feel about the 23andMe?
Yeah, her spit is going to be in a database now.
Yes, I know. We had a discussion about that.
I was wondering
how comfortable she was with the privacy aspects of that. And she's a free person. She's able to make her own decisions. I have not done 23andMe, and I probably will not. But she figured for her, trade-offs. The trade-offs were worth it for her, and
it's not just for her. This is what's really fascinating about 23andMe is any of your family members start doing it.
Yes.
You're in like my daughter is crushed that my husband's entire other side of the family did it. And she's like, there goes her spy credentials once again. So
yeah, you are kind of narking out your kids, aren't you? Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I talked about this with Esther Dyson, and I said, well, now people will know that my son could be liable to prostate cancer. And she said, oh, Jeff, get over yourself. Everybody gets it.
Yeah, that's true. She's right. And she very famously, publicly gave her entire genome to science. So I should mention, just out of fairness, they have my spit. And in fact, I've done several other companies. They've all been sponsors. What I did learn is, it's a little disappointing, is the technology that these companies use is not as specific as you'd hope. When you get your ancestry report, the way it works is it's almost statistical. They compare your DNA to other people's, and then they think, well, you're probably mostly this.
Well, I have a story. Go ahead. Then I'll tell a story.
I was going to say, the thing that was weird was that, she was filling it out, and she said they asked her all these questions about, and she's like, shouldn't I do this afterwards to see if they actually got if the spit actually told them all this? Because if I give them all this, I feel like they're going to, just repeat back to me the same answers that I just told them in text.
The technical difference is they're using something called genotyping, not gene sequencing. And the implication is, Esther Dyson got gene sequencing. Her entire genome was mapped with gene sequencing, but that's expensive. They're using something that's a little more statistical. It works. In fact, I'm actually trying to decide, because I did it so long ago, they now have a new chip they use for this, and there are new reports. They say I am 7% Italian, 32% French and German, and 44% British Irish. I did find a relative, though, which was kind of cool. Yeah, like a second cousin that I actually, after I looked at it, I realized, oh yeah, that she is my second cousin. So it did. I
did better than that.
What'd you do?
Hear my story?
Yeah.
So my grandfather in West Virginia, up the holler, was born to the woman that he thought was his sister, but was actually his mother, and his grandmother acted as his mother because his real mother got impregnated by a traveling coal mine worker.
Yes, these things happen.
And they happen. And so and we never knew details. We never knew the name. We had a few clues. And was apparently from Buffalo, worked the gas mines, as did my grandfather. That's what you do in the holler. And we had no idea. My grandmother threw away, there were some love letters to and they were thrown away. My grandmother was ashamed of this. We never knew anything. We couldn't get it. Well, guess what? 23andMe and my daughter's ability with ancestry and such, if he had made her an honest woman, as they used to say, my name would be Riley.
Interesting. I'm going to call you Riley.
I got
from
through
now
that
on, just to bug you.
Yeah, the life of Riley.
Yeah.
I got that through. That's a reference that Stacey will not understand because she's too young. But I got that through 23andMe.
Interesting. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It is the case that they have your spit, which they could do a full gene sequencing from at some point. So your wife.
I'm sure yours is in a museum. Famous people's spit.
Really old spit.
Hey, what about antitrust?
Okay. Should we do the
feel like we're
changelog
moving
first?
away
No,
from-
I'm just kidding. We're going to do the antitrust, but first we're going to take a break for a word from our sponsor, ESET. And a lot of people know that I've been an ESET user and fan for a long time, but maybe what you didn't know is that so is Twit. In fact, I didn't know that. My daily question when I see our IT guy, he's only here, he's a contractor, managed service provider, so he's not our employee, but we see Russell, a few times a week, right, John? And my question for him lately, every day, every time I see him is, are we safe? Are we safe? Because I am terrified that we're going to get bit by ransomware. You read these stories and these companies and the cost, and it's just a nightmare. And he always says, we're safe. Well, now I know why he says we're safe. He does a lot to protect us, including, it's not just, but I don't want to tell you the whole thing because it's, we don't want to give the bad guys any information. But I am willing to tell you one of the techniques he's been using is ESET. For over 30 years, ESET has been a leader in cybersecurity. This is what we use to protect all of our staff and even our remote work from home staff from malware, ransomware. As a small business, we need enterprise-grade security, but it can't slow us down. It can't interfere with the workflow. In fact, one of the great things about ESET is I didn't know, no one knows, it's running. And what's really great about ESET is it is, and this is something I really have always valued with ESET, it is able to block even the newest threats. New 0 days are coming out all the time. Antiviruses don't know about them because they're 0 days. They're brand new. But ESET does something super cool called Dynamic Threat Defense. If they see an attachment on an email or a suspicious blob, they upload it to their cloud. They have a cloud-based sandboxing technology. They can actually run it in their cloud, watch its behavior, and identify if it's suspicious. They don't have to have the virus signature. They can actually execute it to see what it's doing, analyze it, and then if it is malicious, they block it even before it reaches your inbox, before it reaches your network. Dynamic Threat Defense. This is brilliant. ESET has multiple layers of protection. It's very light on the footprint. It does not use CPUs. You don't even know it's there. You can get it on-prem. You can get it in the cloud. In fact, they're very flexible. You can buy it directly from ESET, but you could do what we do, which is get it through our managed service providers. Most managed service providers offer it because it works so well. There's also an ESET reseller program. So whatever option is fine with me, any option that works for you. There's a security management center that gives Russell a real-time overview of all the on and off-prem endpoints, even the laptops that are at home with our staff, full reporting, automated security management for all the operating systems we use. You can access it wherever you have internet. We have literally been using ESET for years. Trusted by thousands of state and local governments, top universities, and enterprises worldwide. And of course, if you are in an industry that has compliance requirements like GLBA or PCI or HIPAA, it supports all the requirements. If your employees are your first line of defense, and when they work from home, they are working without a net, that's why you need ESET. They have a remote workforce bundle for advanced ransomware and business data protection. That's part of all of their different bundles that they offer. You can protect your employees no matter where they are. Look at the reviews. Independent testing labs say ESET's #1 for minimal system impact and extremely accurate detection. And this new dynamic threat defense makes it even more important. A great fit for small and medium businesses. I hope you'll check them out. ESET understands the security needs of our small business and yours too. Trust ESET to future-proof your business. Get an interactive demo right now at try.eset.com/twit. That's try.eset.com/twit and get a free trial of ESET's award-winning endpoint protection. This just in, San Francisco has just passed the Caren Act. This is not a joke. It is a ban to racist calls to 911. CAREN. It's a acronym. The Caution Against Racial and isn't that a great name? Caution Against Racial and Exploitative Non-Emergencies Act. 11 yes votes unanimously. The Caren Act.
So I just switched over. I'm sorry I didn't listen to the commercial, but Obama's speaking now in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And it's a drive-in rally. So instead of applause, they're honking.
I love these drive-ins.
They're just the greatest.
John's favorite group, Humphreys McGee, does drive-in concerts now.
Wow.
Who would have thought in 2019, you know what's going to be big in 2020? Drive-ins.
Drive-ins.
What? And they honk. They honk at the Humphreys concert too, yeah. Okay.
You should do a drive-in podcast recording.
We could do that.
Yeah.
We always had a studio audience. We got all these chairs. We could do it in the parking lot. But,
that's exciting.
Yeah, I'm not going to do it. That's not. Okay. So.
Could talk about Zoomtopia.
What's Zoomtopia?
Zoomtopia was last week.
You know, I want to learn. Does anybody play Among Us? I want to play Among Us. Taylor Lawrence did a whole article last week in
Stacey. You're torturing her.
She's got her head in her hands. All right.
This week in what?
All right, Google. Okay.
It's only the biggest story so far of the week, and it also happens to be
of the week.
That's all.
Of the year, maybe of the decade.
No, barely the week.
Well, I do want to point out the United States Department of Justice in the last 11 years has only filed one antitrust lawsuit. So this is a big deal. They're not known for their aggressive...
Justice Department is not known for justice either. So it's a political act that's going to go away and then get redone. So it's
and I should point out, nor was Obama's, nor was George W. Bush's. There was in the last 10 years, there's only been one. It's just not. I don't know. We don't care about. Oh, it was a politically motivated one as well. Oh, what was it? I can't remember. I'll find it
because there were a few. I don't know the actual lawsuits, but there were two things that were politically motivated. One being trying to block the AT&T Time Warner.
That was
deal.
it, right? Because because Donnie didn't like CNN, which is
exactly
that was the one.
But there was also I don't know if it was a lawsuit, but there was action about the car companies agreeing to emissions guidelines with California. They said that was collusion.
That's a little political as well, right?
Also a politically motivated one.
But when it comes to mergers between, I don't know, T-Mobile and Sprint,
right?
Or I mean, we can go on and on and on.
And this one was joined by 11 states, all of them Republican AGs.
This is clearly political.
Arkansas is in on this.
Which is not to say that there isn't some merit in the notion that Google is perhaps acting anti-competitively based on its size and dominance.
But this lawsuit is not it. This is not it.
Yeah.
I wrote something where I was just like, if you really support antitrust against Google and you really think that they need to be broken up or there needs to be some sort of punishment for them, this is not the vehicle. It is so poorly done. It is clearly rushed, and it doesn't hit on any of the points that most people think about or most people talk about when they're talking about antitrust and Google.
You say their case is weak.
Yes.
You also point out, or maybe it was Carl, one of you pointed out that they, in their actual brief, they published things that one might say were a good, as proof that they were dirty monopolists, were actually, maybe not so bad. I'm trying to find it's a weaponized farce, Carl Bodie wrote yesterday.
Yeah.
Among other things, well, Nilay actually said this. This is Nilay Patel tweeting of The Verge. In Section 143, the DOJ writes, Google was concerned that a major United States carrier would ask manufacturers to install a search widget powered by the carrier's in-house search engine. You all love Verizon Search, right? Google's VP of Partnerships wrote to a colleague, Google needed to make clear to manufacturers that these customization requests will not go far. Replacing the Google search widget with a different search box would violate the pre-installation agreement. So Nilay Patel says, Google harshly stopping carrier bloatware is, again, not the best argument for the DOJ. Yes, they did. They prevented. Do you know who the carrier was off the top of your head, Mike?
I don't actually in that one. I don't remember.
Yeah. It's pretty funny.
But almost every argument in the filing reads like that. There are all these things where like they're perfectly reasonable, consumer protective or consumer friendly explanations for each of these decisions, and the DOJ presents it in the most nefarious fashion that anyone with any sense of how these things work should say no. Like if they had gone the other way, there would have been all these crazy accusations about Google, enabling bloatware, for example, or, creating security problems, or, each one of these decisions was reasonable. And there was another one that I wrote about earlier today where they talk about the fact that, Google is paying 15 to 20% of Apple's revenue to get, to be the preferred search engine on iOS. And you're like, they're paying billions of dollars. That's not the action of a monopolist. That seems like it's right. Monopolists would want to pay
I've got you
less.
by the gonads, and here's $15 million. Yeah.
Yeah, you want to see monopolists? Look at your ever escalating Comcast bill, and then you will see a monopoly.
Well, that's a really good point because the Department of Justice has done nothing to slow down the aggregation of telecommunications companies, and they are more and more.
They've actually
they
declined to do anything in supporting it.
Yeah,
I would say I wanted to tell you though, the Department of Justice in the last few years has been very active in the food industry. Because when you were talking about them not doing cases, I was like, no, that's not true. Because I've been reading about some crazy ones on my podcasts. But they went after big chicken, big tuna, and big meat packing. I'm just telling you. Different industries.
What I'm quoting is the fact that is an actual lawsuit. So there have been investigations. There have been,
they've been indicting people and putting them in jail.
Well,
and
for criminal behavior, sure.
But not for antitrust.
Yeah.
Well, it's for collusion. It's the Antitrust Division.
Right. So it's collusion.
And it's easier to prove things like, well, it's not easy to prove collusion, but that's also, in the U.S., our antitrust actions you need to prove consumer harm.
Right.
Which, and it's important, like it's easy to say, oh, chickens cost more or tuna's price fixing. When it comes to Google, literally nothing, maybe not literally nothing, very few things like Mike was saying and y'all were talking about, none of these are consumer harms. And I would argue, and I'm just going to throw this out here just to make our argument a little bit more fun, that maybe when it comes to tech monopolies, if we're going to look at this seriously, we should look beyond just consumer harms because it can be hard to show that. Although with Google, you could show it with, again, the ad industry. We've talked about that. And I'm also curious why they didn't go after Amazon, because it's not like the Trump administration loves Jeff Bezos.
Well, Tom Cotton says winter is coming for big tech. So who knows?
So we could get there.
Could get there. Winter is coming. Wasn't that part of the House Democrats report there, that 450-page report was a suggestion that antitrust laws should be probably amended to show more than just consumer harm, to show anti-competitive harm and stuff like that.
There's been a big push for that, generally more from the Democratic side, that the consumer harm standard, which was that was kind of a mainstay of the Republican viewpoint of antitrust, that it was like Robert Bork's big deal.
Right.
And so they've been arguing for what is sometimes referred to as hipster antitrust, which is to get past this idea of consumer harm being the issue. And there are some interesting arguments there. But this filing
law is not there yet.
Why do they call it hipster antitrust? Out of curiosity, what's hipster about it? I don't understand.
Because it's changing. We have this accepted way of doing things, and this is the new hip way of looking at antitrust.
So Google's response, which I guess I should mention. Not.
Yes, you should.
Yeah, give them.
Yes, you should, because it's actually a good response.
Yeah, this is from Kent Walker, who's Senior Vice President of Global Affairs in the Keyword blog. Today's lawsuit is deeply flawed. People use Google because they choose to, not because they're forced to, or because they can't find alternatives. But it is true. One of the accusations is the deals that Google makes with carriers to make sure that other search engines aren't on those phones.
Where you can change it in 14 seconds.
But you
can change it.
Yeah. So I guess that's not forced to.
And it's just like it's, this funny thing is they're going after their browser, which is like going back 20 years. But and I'll let you get back to his answer in a second. But the problem is, I think that it's always yesterday's war when it comes to antitrust. And to go after search, I think search is outmoded. I think it's got cobwebs on it. I think that we need far better services and systems to get us to expertise and authority and relevance. And Google's behind. Somebody's going to come along and beat it. And I think that this idea that it owns search is the least of the problems. Well, actually, advertising, that's where the issues are.
Let me finish the statement, but I do have a question along those lines. I would like to. We talked a little bit about this on Sunday. I'd like to pose to Mike along these lines. So I'll get to that. But anyway, today's lawsuit is deeply flawed. Blah blah. The lawsuit would do nothing to help. This is Google. It would do nothing to help consumers. To the contrary, it would artificially prop up lower quality search alternatives, raise phone prices, and make it harder for people to get the search services they want. Let's talk specifics. The department's complaint relies on dubious arguments to criticize our efforts. Yes, like countless other businesses, we pay to promote our services, billions of dollars to companies like Apple. Just like a cereal brand might pay a supermarket to stock its products at the end of the row or on a shelf at eye level. For digital services, when you first buy a device, it kind of has a home screen eye-level shelf. On mobile, that shelf is controlled by Apple, as well as companies like AT&T, Verizon, Samsung, and LG. On desktop computers, overwhelmingly controlled by Microsoft. So we negotiated agreements with many of those companies for eye-level shelf space. In other words, the default search engine is Google. But let's be clear, our competitors are readily available, too, if you want to use them. It's true, every browser, you could change search, and it often gives you, suggests alternatives like DuckDuckGo and Bing and Yahoo and other search engines. Our agreements with Apple and other device makers and carriers, they go on to say, are no different from the agreements with many other companies have traditionally used to distribute software. I guess the thing I wanted to ask Mike, and this was actually asserted by the Department of Justice, there's such a thing as the network effect. Jeff says, somebody else could come along and displace Google or Facebook. But isn't it the case that at some point, Google is so big, has such a big database, it's hard to displace it? Isn't there a network effect?
I mean, there is some argument to that. The question is, what does that mean for antitrust purposes? I think these things do change over time, and there are reasons to think that Jeff might be correct, that there are different ways to approach it. It won't be, I think, by creating just like
you won't make another Google. Engine. It won't be the same.
Right. No, it'll be something. Yeah. Something that.
Well, remember how worried Google was about social search, and that became the number one effort of Google for a while with Google Plus, because they were afraid that the knowledge graph that Facebook was creating was actually more valuable than search.
How does Google have a network effect? Facebook, yes. How does Google have a network effect outside of advertising?
I think there's an argument that, Google search is improved by more people searching on it, and that they learn from that.
That's what the DOJ said, is because of this large market share, 80% the DOJ asserts, they are collecting more data. Who can come along and compete with them? They can't collect that data.
Yeah, maybe.
I think there's also the fact that Google can pull in so many other things into their other products. So when they launch a new product, it is much more competitive from the get-go. So if you look at things like, I'm trying to think of some of the services I use that, like Google Maps can now tell me exactly how many people, not exactly how many people, sorry, it can tell me if a place I'm about to go is crowded or not. Those are things it can only do because it has, Android phones and is pulling. That's not exactly antitrust, but it is a network effect brought about by the fact that the more people use their stuff. Sorry.
It's okay. This is actually Google's response to that particular point. There's another area where the lawsuit is wrong. This is again from the Keynote blog about how Americans use the internet. It claims we compete only with other general search engines. That's demonstrably wrong. People find information in lots of ways. They look for news on Twitter, flights on Kayak and Expedia. Remember, Google owns IATA rather. Which actually I think has put Hipmunk and some other travel search engines out of business, because Google controls the database of flight information. So there are. I am not saying Google is not a monopolist. I think they are, but I don't know if this is the right way to approach it. Restaurants and Open Table, recommendations on Instagram and Pinterest. This is actually a very telling point. When searching to buy something, around 60% of Americans start on Amazon. That's a very credible argument. Amazon is a big competitor to Google's search,
and now in advertising, search and advertising.
Yeah.
And the argument they make that, the Amazon Fire phone failed, that's Google's fault. No, it was a stupid
It was a crappy phone. We all know why Fire phone failed.
Such a weird argument. Yeah. And it also undermines their argument because part of that has to do with the like non-forking agreements. This is what the DOJ is arguing, that if you want to have Android and Google services together, Google makes you require that you won't fork it and sort of create your own version.
Screw it up like Amazon did.
Exactly. And so but then immediately they point to Amazon, which did exactly what they're saying nobody will do because of Google's thing. But the fact that Amazon did it shows that their entire argument is not accurate.
Google's right. Yeah.
Stacey's left the building.
I'll jump in and keep talking. The other argument that's weird about it is, they talk about these agreements to get search, to be the default, to get Google to be the default, and yet, you look at things like the Chrome browser, which has a huge market share and is not the default browser on nearly every computer. Most Windows machines come with, whatever Microsoft is calling their thing today, Edge, and the Macs come with Safari, and yet people choose to go to Chrome because they find it to work better for the most part. And so this idea that like having these default deals is preventing people from going elsewhere, it doesn't actually seem to be supported by the way that people actually act when it comes to computers.
I use Chrome because my office is cold and I need my fans running all the time, extra heat.
I mean, that's a good point. I use Firefox. I don't use Chrome. It is true that the Chromium engine has become more and more dominant, not just because of Google's Chrome, but Microsoft's Edge now.
That doesn't gain Google data. It's a gift to the ecosystem.
Yeah, and I think you can make the same case for Android.
Yes, same thing.
Yeah,
you can be Amazon and screw up Android and fine. It's a gift to you. It's free. Yeah, this is politically motivated as hell. I think it starts with what Stacey's been saying. Do we want to or do we not want to reconsider the definitions of antitrust? It starts legislatively. This is trying to bring into the DOJ based on current law. No, there's no consumer harm. There's some advertiser issues. I'll be the first to grant that. But even then, Amazon's growing, Facebook's grown, TikTok's growing. So, competition, lack of competition is harder to prove there. But, we can have that discussion. But on current law?
In which there was a congressional, it was the House, the Senate that did the 430-something or 60-something page report, because they did that on antitrust?
Yep, the House.
The House Judicial Committee, yes?
Subcommittee on
it's
antitrust.
The antitrust subcommittee.
Judiciary.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, that one. You read that report, they actually talk about things like network effects. And I'm not saying it's the end-all be-all, but the discussion is beginning. Now, given where we are and the way the world works right now, I have no optimism that we will get a law passed. But
it's important to note that the House report on antitrust was done by Democrats, and the Republicans put out their own sort of dissent.
They did.
And they had fought about it. They tried to put together a sort of bipartisan report, and nobody could agree. But
some of the points in there were. Some of the points they did agree on.
Sure. Yes, there are some areas of overlap. It's the same thing with 230 and antitrust, right? There are, because in both cases, like everybody is seeing certain things about the technology industry that they don't like, but they're completely disagreeing on how and why and how to deal with it. And so where they come down on all of these things is very, very different and would have very, very different impact. And so, there are some interesting things, and certainly the House report at 400 pages is a lot more thorough, but it also had some really weird things in there, some really sloppy things, some things that were so old and no longer relevant that were very strange.
It was like a bad high school paper in spots.
Yes. Well, that's the argument that the DOJ lawsuit is like a bad law school student, attempt at writing a brief.
But the biggest problem is, well, what is the remedy? And it's I think it's almost impossible to think of a remedy that would not have
all remedies are going to have
consequences.
Yeah. Well, they're going to have intended consequences and unintended consequences. That
depends on what your goal is.
Yeah.
Well, our goal is, let's assume the goal is to foster innovation, to increase competition in the markets that Google, and let's add Microsoft and Facebook and Amazon and Apple into that as well, in those markets to create more. I thought the House's report was pretty damning on Apple. The stuff, the smoking gun emails they got on Apple doing side deals, when they claim again and again that their app store is fair to everybody, is what I thought was pretty, on the face of it, pretty blatant evidence of collusion. So I think it isn't. I don't want to throw out the baby with the bathwater. There is some merit to these. The question is,
there's probably merit.
Go ahead, Stacey, and then
go
Mike.
ahead.
No,
I was just saying, there's merit in some places. Like, I think an interesting spot to look for antitrust is to start looking at online marketplaces, whether that's the App Store, whether that's Amazon's, Amazon, and how it does, or Google's online ads. I mean, so if you think about online marketplaces are a really interesting place to start making rules. I think you can't, if you're going to approach antitrust for tech, you can't do it on a company basis. You have to do it on like, hey, let's talk about data interoperability. Let's talk about how you treat marketplaces. So that's how I think we should approach it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You've got to start with, is there damage? And is there damage that's not covered by the law now? Then you consider a new law around that. You start with evidence of the discussion. We're not there. We're starting with emotion.
You should look
Stacey,
ahead.
back to your point, just one point. If we do, knock wood, yes, I'm going to be political right now, have a clean sweep of Democrats, then I think you could end up with new antitrust law. You'll have Elizabeth Warren in there saying now's the time to pay up, and here's what it's going to look like. And I think that could make a big difference.
Yeah. Okay. That's my.
Yeah, but it would be a very different kind of argument.
Oh yes. But it would go to what Stacey's says very well. It's about starting with a discussion rather than starting with this document.
Exactly. Yeah. If the government goes entirely to the Democratic side and you have both houses of Congress and the presidency, you would almost certainly see some sort of new antitrust regulations introduced that would probably open things up and sort of take this, hipster antitrust approach to things.
So Stacey,
whether or not then the courts would whether or not the courts would allow that to happen is a separate question.
Right. These courts particularly. Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Stacey, where would you start if you had a clean whiteboard with a clean slate of Democrats in, and you wanted to have the discussion that you ask for around antitrust, power, size, whatever, where would you start? Where would you start the research on damage to be mitigated?
So I don't read antitrust papers in my spare time. I want to make that really
clear. You do a lot of nerdy things, but not that.
I read Spectrum papers and I read encryption papers, but I do not read antitrust papers. So I
can send you some.
Thanks. I think Mike might better answer. I will say the things I worry about are the amalgamation of data and using that to improve products and the way that companies can kind of create, as Amazon, their famous flywheel. I don't know if there's a way to stop that that doesn't produce more harms. But that's like an area where I think there is, combined, like, there's a lot happening there that's really interesting. And I think there are potential harms down the road for that.
And Mike, where would you start? Oh, sorry, Stacey.
Yeah, Stacey, are you done? I don't want to.
I was just going to say in marketplaces, but I already said that.
Okay.
So my take on it is, I go back also to the sort of data control issue. And I think that, if we were to move more of the control to the end users and allow for the ability to take your data out and have it in a format that could actually be shifted to other services, that would be powerful. And so the easiest way to do that in my head, and there are arguments against this too, is that you would put in place something that effectively says you have a way, sort of get out of antitrust jail free card if you make your data available in that way, and you have APIs that allow people to pull out their data and move it to other services. And if you've done that and allowed people to get out and allowed other services to build on the data that is in your silo, then you avoid antitrust, and that would create incentives for those companies to free up that data, to allow for competitors to come in, to allow for new entrants to build off of the sort of network effects that are already built up around these companies, and to create a more competitive environment.
And I would add one more data point too.
Oh,
go ahead, Jeff. Then you, Stacey.
Which and Mike, these poor folks have heard me say this a million times. I was on a transatlantic high-level working group on content moderation and freedom of expression, read regulation, that came out with proposals that even I, who sound like I'm all anti-regulation, am not when they're reasonable. And the argument is transparency to accountability. That you also say in an FTC kind of model, if you're saying, Facebook, that you're going to have a friendly place that's safe for people, then show us and give researchers the data. We're going to require you to give them the data so we can hold you accountable to that promise. We're not going to tell you what to promise, but we're going to hold you accountable to that. And so we need data that way too, and we need you to give it to us safely.
Historically, these companies have been very reluctant to give that up, right?
Well, that's why the government has to. That's where the government has a role. And I got kicked under the table whenever I said this in this high-level working group. Is if I use the phrase safe harbor, they say no. But I say it's basically a safe harbor. It's basically saying if the government forces me to give you the data, then you really can't get mad at me if somebody else F's it up. So require me to give you the data, and then that's how we'll give it to you.
I mean, the risk with that model, though, is then you're only held, it's the way the FTC works today with privacy stuff. You're only held to the promises that you make. And that just creates incentives to make your promises broad so that you can't have violated your own promises.
Right. Well, the Europeans in this will require some negotiation of what those promises are. And that you have civil society and you have government regulation and you have tech companies together. And so there'll be promises that would be unacceptable in that view.
Stacey,
I was going to go back.
Yep.
Oh, sorry. I was going to go back to Mike's point about data not interoperability, export. I think it's a smart idea. I think where we would start seeing the arguments kind of arise there is around what that format looks like. Because right now I can take my data out of lots of devices and export it to Excel. Completely freaking useless, right?
Worse then.
But you could use JSON or something. You could have a standardized format that would be machine readable.
Right.
So, but then you have to think, a couple things there, right? One, some GDPR would get in the way of something like that. Because if I export my data, then I can't control what happens. If Google makes my data available to other companies via an API, even if it's not personally identifiable, something like GDPR comes in and says, so there's some, I'm not saying it's a bad idea or it's wrong. I'm just trying to point up, if we do something like this, here are where some of the fault lines and fights are going to happen.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. And that's actually why I've been really concerned about all the privacy regulations, because I fear that they block off this path entirely.
Oh, interesting.
And even though I'm supportive of privacy, I worry that we actually block off this kind of situation, which would lead to more competition. There are ways to deal with all of that. I agree. Right now, you can export your data from various services, but mostly in a useless format. But part of that is because you can't really do that much with it. if the law were made clear that you would be protected from antitrust if you had it in a way that, really, enabled it to be useful in other scenarios, then there's an opportunity for new companies to come in and say, we'll give you a different interface to your Facebook data, and we're not going to, bombard you with advertisements or things of that nature. And you can have different models come about. And whereas today, thanks to things like CFAA, Facebook can block a bunch of these things. If we were to, fix that aspect of it also, you could set up the framework and the ecosystem in which there would be competition. But you're right that it would conflict with other laws, and those need to be dealt with.
Yeah, but I'm all for it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we've solved it.
Okay, we can move on.
Good discussion. This is a good discussion.
Fantastic. Good talk. Good talk.
Good. It was good. Now we can hear about Zoomtopia.
How about if we do the Google Changelog?
The Google Changelog.
So Search Day was the day after last week's episode, and there was a lot of stuff. But the only one that even sticks in my mind was the fact that you could hum to your Google Assistant now, and they will be able to help you figure out.
Is it distributed? Have you tried it? Is it out there?
I haven't tried it. You want to try it? Let's see. Starting today, you can hum, whistle, or sing a melody to Google to solve your earworm. On your mobile device, open the latest version of the Google app or find your Google search widget, and type. Should I try it?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if I'm the best hummer. How can you not?
Well, Stacey says she's tone deaf, so she can't.
I'm tone deaf. I can't hum anything.
Okay.
That seems like a good way to test it.
Exactly, Mike.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. So what?
I understand Stacey
is talking to me for some reason. All I did was open it.
Anyway. Who am I humming to?
No, I'm going to hum. I'm going to hum. Hold on.
Okay.
Then you can hum, because I have a microphone. Well, I guess you could do it too.
Oh, that's okay. There's no rush for me to hum anything.
Yourself first, Leo.
I don't know.
It's fine.
My phone has gotten weird here. Okay.
What's the command you use?
What is this song? Wait a minute. Okay, wait a minute. I need a song.
Fake friend.
What song? Which song?
Oh! I know. Stacey's wedding song.
Oh yeah. What is this song? Da 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 da. What is this song?
Sorry, there was a problem.
Yeah.
Please try again.
Yeah. What is this? Wait a minute. Take two. What is this song?
Sorry, I don't have that information.
It isn't even waiting. What is this song?
Sorry, I don't have.
Okay, your turn, Stacey.
Let's pick up. It will have. Is it part of an update that we need to have? Do we know if we have it yet?
Today, open the latest version of the Google app. Or maybe that was the Assistant app. Maybe I needed to use the Google app. This is part of the problem with Google. Yes. That's part of the problem with Google.
I have Home. I have. I don't have a Google.
What is this song?
Sorry, I don't have that information.
Jehoshaphat. Try a different song, man. Try Silent Night.
That
is terrible.
You gotta go for 15 seconds.
Sounds like it might be one of these.
It says it's either Noche de Paz, Hard Pill to Swallow, or Silent Night.
Oh, well, okay.
There you go.
Pretty good.
All right, there
Wonder
you go.
what Noche de Paz sounds like. Let me just, maybe it's the same song.
Night of Peace.
Sounds exactly the same.
Very different.
Your version, at least, yeah.
Okay.
Here, I'll do one.
Why don't you do one,
15
Stacey?
seconds, is that it?
You got to go for 10 to 15 seconds. Oy.
Oh.
What do I say? What is this song?
Hey, Google, what's this song?
Okay. What is this song? I
Now you have to hum something.
This is too long. I don't know anymore.
Okay, of limited value. It seemed like such a good idea.
This needs to be a clip that goes on Twitter.
Oh God! Don't say that. It will.
Yeah.
Wait, could y'all recognize my song?
No.
Anyone?
No, it's a Michigan fight song.
It was all the single ladies.
Oh, I did not.
Like, put your hands up.
You are tone deaf. I will actually grant you that now. Let's see. Here we
Mike,
go.
do you have an Android phone?
I do, but
Mike's like, I am not doing this.
I know I've lost the thread. I don't know how the rest of this goes. Oh, that's terrible.
All right, let me try it.
You do it.
Okay, Google, what's this song? Let's not do anything.
I like how the little hair bops. It's like Amy Klobuchar's bang. You're getting really into it.
The problem is 15 seconds is a really long time to hum a song you don't know.
That is a.
I mean, that's
Mike
significant.
is saying, I'm not going. There's not going to be video of me doing this anywhere on earth. You're not tricking me into it. You're not catching me. Nope. I'm too smart for you.
I may not have much dignity, but I do have
You got
just
some
that
left.
tiny shred.
Some left.
Ours is long gone, Mike. Long gone.
I will say, ahead of the holidays are nice games you can play with people on Zoom. This is actually quite nice. You can challenge your friends to hum songs and see if Google gets it.
There you go. There you go.
Oh, God help me. It's going to be the next icebreaker on a Zoom meeting. No.
Everybody has to
I hate
hum.
icebreakers.
Who does icebreakers on Zoom
Remember,
meetings?
it wasn't so long ago we had in a Google Changelog this new app that Google was offering called Trusted Contacts. Remember, that would help you find a family member if they don't respond, or they could proactively broadcast their location. Google's killing it already. It's like less than a year. It's going to discontinue Trusted Contacts. It's yanked it from the Google Play Store. And if you want to use a similar feature, they say just use it in Maps. But
you want to hear Google's also killing, or rather discontinuing, its Nest Secure hardware.
Yeah, there is a big one. Now, they only offered that. They never had a follow-up. That was about, 3 years ago? But now they're just saying it's not going to work anymore. That's it. Done.
Well, no. They're saying if you have it, it'll
continue to work.
Supporting it, it will continue to work.
For
But they're
how
no
long?
longer selling.
Right.
Well, yeah.
You know, that's the question. How long are they going to run the server? It had a little keypad. It had sensors.
The lots of those sensors is sad. But I'm hoping that with the connected home over IP, we'll get sensors that actually will work with everybody.
We should have a Google Changelog and a Google Kill Log.
Google Death.
You now have a heart button on Google Discover. I don't even know what Google Discover is.
What's Google Discover?
No idea.
Yeah.
For adjusting feed preferences.
Oh, that's the swipe right.
Is that our newspaper thing in the
that's
like
the swipe right.
on your phone?
Oh,
okay.
I turn that
always
off
have a heart.
right away.
Actually use that?
Yeah, I turn it off
use it.
immediately. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I do too.
I love
really?
it.
Oh, okay.
I think it's fun.
So if you heart these, before it had a more or less slider. Remember that? Now you can heart it. It doesn't open a menu. It just says, I like it. I like it, Google.
I see a more or less. Ooh.
Yeah.
Chromebook, more.
Yeah, it's
they're
not there
replacing that more or less. See, that's the little slider. They're replacing that with a heart.
Oh.
So you can't
goodness,
say less, I guess.
Well, that's
no. You tell
bad.
it. You tell it to. You can say hide the story. I'm not interested in this topic.
Yeah,
don't show.
That's
source.
under the 3-dot menu still. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Wait. So what? I am lost. What is this even? What are we talking about?
Google Discover.
What is
here's
this product?
like
It's
Discover.
the Google News product.
So
yeah, if you
I
here, I'll
have
show
Google
you.
News, but I don't have that
If
on
you
Google
go-
News.
if you go to a story on news,
That basically goes to Google News equivalent.
It goes to Google News,
Okay.
and it's just
Swipe,
for fun. So you can see that I like IoT devices, modern architecture, advice columns, and Boston Dynamics will start selling arms for its RoboDog Spot next year, which scared the bejesus out of me.
Arms? Oh, you mean arms?
Because I was thinking guns, but it's actually
just arms. Okay.
But yeah, so I like this tool because it'll sometimes surface some really weird stuff that I would never have found otherwise.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, I get that with Google News, but this is different than Google News. I'm seeing I don't see any of
if you're in
it's
the Pixel,
a little bit different. Yeah,
you have the Pixel launcher and you swipe to the right. There's a whole screen of stuff on the left.
Is this only on the Pixel then?
Only if you use a Pixel launcher. Yeah.
If you
can use the Pixel launcher on other.
I'm using
other
phones. I have the OnePlus, which
you don't have
the Pixel
they have their
launcher.
own.
Yeah, you don't
their
know.
own thing. Actually, Jeff, you'll like this. Some new features in Chrome OS. Google is adding screen recording. There are third-party tools, but now there'll be. And this
that's great.
Yeah.
My daughter, when she was playing Star Stable, she could have been recording her games and broadcasting.
Yes.
Oh,
exactly. Well, you can't.
So then, how would she become a spy?
I think that's true.
yeah, well, it's just her screen, though, right?
Yeah. It's a screenshot, and it's not live. It's just record it, and then you could then upload it if you wanted to.
Yeah.
And I know this actually isn't the changelog because it's not a Google thing, but Parallels has just announced that they are going to add Windows virtualization to Chromebooks, so you'll be able to run Windows apps in your Chromebook.
Why would I ever want to do that?
Well,
I know if you have to for work.
It's interesting how Chrome OS is becoming more like a general purpose operating system. Initially, it's only for enterprise Chromebooks, so you have to have a managed Chromebook, and it does require a lot of hardware. You have to have a 16 gigs of RAM and i5 or better and 128 gigs. I know it's not a lot of Chromebooks can run this.
Well, and speaking about Chromebooks, Kevin has just got the Acer Chromebooks Bin 513 with the Qualcomm 7C. Is that a big deal? That's only $399.
Yeah, it's that Qualcomm I'm not so happy about.
Oh, is that the problem?
Oh, yeah. So Kevin has it. You should ask him offline because I think he can't talk about some of it, but he's able to talk about others.
Cool. Okay.
Oh, okay. And
so talked about it this
Google does, or Parallels does say, and I think it's in conjunction with Google's, that this will come to all Chromebooks with sufficient horsepower in the next few months. So, yeah, you know what? It's for one. There's that one Windows app is the only thing keeping you from using a Chromebook. And now you'll be able to run it. And I think that's actually a good thing.
And if you need, you could put in, Kevin would tell you to put in Linux and do videos that way. But if you're chicken, you put in Windows and you do something that way.
Here's a little friend you can run around with your Spot dog with arms. It's a little crop watching. I'll jump ahead here. This is
less water to use.
Let me see if I turn off the sound. Let's see if I can find a video of it. It's a robot that rolls around in your fields and watches your crops. And it's
I need that.
Mineral.
Huh? Yeah, you need that, Jeff, for your crop.
The back 40.
There it is.
There it is.
Project Mineral. It's a plant buggy.
Didn't we talk about this? It looks like the things from Tron.
I feel like we did.
No.
Yeah, maybe you talked about
it last
Kevin.
week.
Okay, never mind. Google Chat will go free next year. Hangouts will lose chat.
They could never get this straight. Jesus Christ.
So, yeah, it's basically they're going to continue to dismember Hangouts to provide features to other programs. And I'm totally reliant on Hangouts. I don't know what this means
so are Kevin and I.
Yeah, well, and if you're a Fi customer, Hangouts is your messaging platform.
Chat.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think they have to.
Yeah. None of this makes sense. It hasn't. There's been no clear explanation of any of this for the past decade, right? I mean, it's just like the app suddenly changed.
Crazy. So
I imagine teams of engineers at Google who work on each different part of something, in like maybe once a month they get together and they do like a BattleBot style thing. And if you win, your feature takes over the other features.
Link. Yeah.
Dance off.
Dance off.
Ooh, that'd be way better.
If you,
there's a really good story that I think Jeff would like.
Okay, fire away.
In the display section, and I'm wondering if this is indicative of things.
Remember, we're in the changelog right now.
This is a Google display.
Okay.
Does that not go in the changelog?
That goes in there. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I just was warning you. It was just a warning.
Okay.
You don't want to peeve
There are
Carson.
several features coming, but the one I thought you'd care about is if you have personal and separate personal and work accounts, you can set up multiple accounts on Google Assistant devices to see and interact with all of your upcoming events. Now,
finally,
does that mean G Suite? Maybe.
Oh,
it works with Google Workspaces, which I think is Workspaces going to be G Suite? What? Yes.
Yeah, G Suite's been renamed. Yeah, it's been renamed.
Yeah.
Okay, so it is.
Again.
So this is so you can get your, I'll just call it G Suite because that's what I think of it as. Your G Suite account now you can sign up to test the beta so your calendar and stuff will appear on your Google displays. So it's the beginning of possible
a step, a little baby toe moved closer to the line. Yes.
Dude, don't complain, man.
This is going to make you make you happy, Jeff, because you still have a Pixel 4. You may remember they talk about Google Pixel 5's portrait light feature.
I actually have a 3.
They're going to roll it out to the 2, the 3, and the 4, and the 4A. So and I think this is one of the things Google does well because a lot of the features of their cameras really are software, not hardware. And so portrait light, which allows you to dynamically tweak and edit lighting, brightness around the faces, and the lighting angle. That was the one where you could have the light come from different positions on the portrait. That's pretty cool. That's all software-based, so older phones should be able to do it, and it will be available soon, if not already, to your Pixel 3. Finally, you now can ask Google to find voting locations and ballot boxes where you can drop off your ballot. I bet you have all voted already. Stacey, did you vote yet?
I did.
Yes.
And I sure did my ballot.
And you live in Texas where you had to go. Nope. Oh, you don't live in Texas anymore. Oh, so that made it a lot easier.
No, if I lived in Texas, I would have early voted. But Washington, like when I got here, I was like, oh my God, is this voting? I don't think you can vote in person in Washington. I don't know. It's awesome.
In New Jersey, the governor decided to send mail ballots to everybody in the state. And if you vote in person on Election Day, you are a provisional ballot.
Oh, interesting.
Oh.
So have you sent your ballot in, Jeff, or are you going
to? I took it into the city hall and in the box and put it in there.
I trusted the U.S. mail because I thought about it, and I thought I could drop it off in an unattended locked box right out in the parking lot of the Veterans Hall, or I could put it in a nicely marked, secure U.S. mailbox. So I did that. And what was nice is in California, we get a text message saying the post office has received your ballot. The post office is sending the ballot to us. And I just got a text yesterday. We have received your ballot, and it will be counted. So that was a nice feeling. Mike, have you
voted?
I have sitting on my desk in front of me. I have the ballot filled out. I just have not brought it. I'm going to bring it down to one of the election boxes. There's like 6 of them, within a mile. So it's actually
you'll appreciate this feature. You can now ask Google ballot drop boxes near me, and it'll show you all the ones, and it'll show you the one the nearest. There's early voting locations. They will show you as well, and Google says soon you'll be able to say, hey, you know who, where do I vote? Where do I vote? So that's good.
You know what would be nice is if they showed you how many people were in line. So you could go with
that would be great.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Leo, I used the Dropbox over at the Veteran Center.
Yeah?
It looks pretty safe. It's locked down. And a couple days later, I got this.
Oh, nice. You got a little button, huh?
So I got the email confirming that my vote will be counted.
Wait a minute. How did you get that?
Email.
You got an emailed picture that says of a button that says I voted.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do miss not having my I voted sticker.
I'll probably get that too then, I guess. Yeah. No, I was joking. I just thought, you know what? Why not mail it? I got the post office. Why not? And I know I just think we should support your local postal service.
Yeah. I mean, mine came with the.
Yeah, I have a sticker. Oh, but your sticker's bigger. Yours is like John's. Mine's just that little lozenge.
I didn't get a sticker with my ballot.
You didn't get a sticker?
Well, came with mine. I don't know.
It's county by county. Okay. County by county. If you are a Stadia gamer, or you want to be, Google has launched free game demos to entice people into cloud gaming. They started yesterday, including Pac-Man Mega Tunnel Battle. All you have to do is click a link, create a Stadia account, and start playing the game streamed from the servers. So this is a chance for you to just try Stadia, right now.
Because nobody else is using it?
Apparently.
I was about to say, don't go try out Luna. That's no fun. Try Stadia. The other also ran cloud gaming platform.
So I'm going to choose my account. Let me see if we can use Google Chrome to play Stadia on computers. Oh, you see? They are a monopoly. I can't play it in my Firefox. Of course I can play. It would work fine in Firefox.
Unlike Apple, where you can't watch their events unless you're using
same
Safari.
thing. Yeah. I think they stopped doing that, by the way. I think they've opened up. And that, unless you have something else, is the Google Changelog. I didn't know whether to put this in the changelog or not, but I don't think it belongs in the changelog. I mentioned that AOC was playing this new game Among Us on Twitch. 400,000 people joined her and Ilhan Omar playing. It's a fun game. It's like Werewolf. You're on a spaceship. Everybody has a different role. There are one or more imposters. You have to find the imposters before they kill you off. Sounds like you played it, Mike.
I have not, but my son has, and in fact, I think this very second in the next room
He's
over,
playing Among Us.
Playing it.
That's
yes.
Well, this is what the Taylor Lawrence article was really interesting, because she said basically this is how kids your son's age are socializing in COVID-19. Because it's not really, the game isn't that engaging. It's more like you're sitting talking. It's like when guys get together to play poker. It's just the backbone for the actual socializing. So I think that's kind of cool. AOC.
I'll have to show my daughter.
Yeah, I think she probably already knows about it, Mom.
Well, yeah, okay. I should check in with her and see if that's something she's doing.
Do you know about Among Us? I wonder. Because these things, they spread kind of virally, right? So it may be that they just hasn't hit the island yet. Here's Taylor Lawrence's article. Everyone's playing Among Us. YouTubers, influencers, and streamers popularized this. Taylor was so happy. She tweeted today. And yeah, after I wrote the article, AOC used it. 500,000 people joined her. You play these characters. It's a multiplayer game. 4 to 10 players dropped onto an alien spaceship. You're either a crewmate or an imposter. You have to run around the ship trying to complete a set of tasks while not getting killed by the imposters. Very big in the early teen set. This is actually kind of a funny one. Here, I'll play this. Did I mute my sound?
Give me a second, I need to get my story
let me start it over again. That's the sound of running.
Give me a second,
he says, sounds familiar.
My friends are in the bathroom.
All right, I can't play too much of that. Okay, that's just a little something.
You can see whether or not Google knows what that tune is, though.
Boom, 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 boom. The Biden campaign is pretty savvy when it comes to another game called Animal Crossing. I just started playing Animal Crossing. It's a fun game on the Nintendo Switch.
You liberal, you.
I know, I love it. They had Biden-Harris yard signs that you could buy. Now they have a whole island. So the idea is you're on an island, you're building up your island over time, you're doing it's a lot of work. But apparently, I don't know, somebody in the Biden campaign really has a lot of free time because they've built a rather elaborate island featuring Kamala Harris is upstairs, the Biden headquarters. They say there is plenty of ice cream, trains, aviators, chucks, swag, and more. And, of course, a lot of information about how to vote as an election day checklist. It's in 2016, one of the secrets people said to Trump's success was his masterful use of social media, particularly Facebook. It's interesting. The Democrats I don't see Donald Trump playing Animal Crossing anytime soon. That's pretty cool. You can get a Biden Island themed shirt for your character. The dream code, well, you just search for it so you can join them on the island if you wish.
Zoomtopia.
What is Zoomtopia?
Zoomtopia They had a few interesting things. I think it's worthwhile.
Is it their conference? Their big conference?
Yes, it was their conference, their online product.
They are now doing end-to-end encryption. It is available as an option for both free and paid accounts. And judging by the description, we talked about it yesterday on Security Now, it's being done right. So if you want an encrypted meeting, which you probably don't need to do for your I don't know. Maybe you do. For
Jeffrey Toobin might have been good to have done it.
Jeffrey Toobin, maybe, yeah.
But let me push back on that and say why you would, even if you're not nervous about it. Which is that if you only do it when you're nervous about what you're doing, you're kind of signaling to people that these are the times to check in on you.
Here I am doing something bad.
Like burner phones, as the Guardian learned.
Yeah. That's cool that they are offering that. I think you lose some capabilities with encryption, but nevertheless, it is available.
It also supports the idea of encryption and makes people say, don't take it away from us.
That's right.
Right.
Which they're about to try to do, I believe.
They're going to keep trying.
Yeah.
They will try forever.
There's Zaps, which you can open apps in the room and share those apps as you do which I think would be neat.
Like Dropbox and Slack.
Like, what is it? Mbop. Was that? Dude.
Yeah.
So basically, I mean, Zoom is just saying, hey, we're going to be a platform, so you can put all sorts of weird stuff on us and open stuff from us. So, like, I don't know if that's good news or bad news for him. I guess it depends on how they implement it.
Yeah.
Then there's On Zoom, which is their online events platform with more functionality for events because people are going to other platforms for large-scale events.
Oh, smart.
I went to one.
Useful. Which one do you like, Stacey, now?
I use Hopin instead of Zoom. Because it allows you to do networking and chat and all sorts of great things.
Yeah, the one I use is called Remo, which I think is fantastic for online events.
Remo,
but Remo.co. It's similar to Hopin. Like I was going back and forth between Hopin and Remo just had some features that I really liked. But yeah, it's interesting that like. I spent a few weeks researching this space, and it is incredible. There are so many different virtual events companies out there. And like I found, I think 3 or 4 top 10 lists that had no overlap between all 4 top 10.
Jesus.
So
yeah,
there's all
I have a
these
spreadsheet
companies
that had like 45 different companies on them. And and everyone is doing Zoom or God forbid Teams. Did you see CES is going to be hosted on Teams?
Oh,
let us all
really?
just cry.
No.
Must have been a deal with Microsoft.
Have you guys tried WonderMe? Do you know that one?
Mm-mm.
I haven't seen that one.
So I was at a Google event. It was because the social things, they have avatars and I hate those. But now you're little videos and you come near someone and then you see the other person's video and your video there and you can talk and 3 other people can come down and you're all in videos and you can talk, right?
There's
I need for things like students being able to mingle and meetings and things. I desperately need that kind of thing. So what other competitors are out there?
Yeah, the one that's similar to that is called GatherTown. And it has sort of like, it feels like a kind of 8-bit computer-y type thing. But as you walk around, as you get closer to people, the videos of the people that you're closer to expand and you can talk to them and you can wander around the room. So yeah, check out GatherTown.
I wonder how much of the explosion of these technologies has to do with WebRTC, which was, I think, a Google technology. The ability for a browser to do all of these things that normally you'd write a standalone application to do. Zoom doesn't use it, but Google Meet, I'm sure, does. And a lot of these technologies, we have a Jitsi server, which is an open source solution. It uses WebRTC. It makes it much easier to implement this kind of conferencing. I bet you that's why there's so many different platforms. You don't have to solve
the last thing
part.
from Zoomtopia that I found interesting was a suite of things for the hybrid office and hybrid workforce. So a virtual receptionist. So you fire the receptionist. Zoom rooms scheduling, display, people counting. So if there's a limit to how many people you can have in a room, what we'll come to is we'll start counting people. Voice commands for Zoom rooms, so you don't have to touch anything. Native integration of Alexa for business on Zoom rooms. I don't know what that means. Control Zoom rooms from a mobile device or laptop. Zoom rooms enhanced dashboard reporting. So it's all this stuff for the new office.
It's just wild.
I just found it.
So the receptionist, you come into an office and there's nobody there. There's just a screen, and the receptionist is at home and welcomes you. and says, well, just sit down. Somebody will Zoom you in a minute. I mean, it's like, just lock the place up.
Yep.
Some of this feels like that Zoom and others are assuming this is not going to end. And this is the future of work. This is what workplaces are going to look like.
Yep. That's exactly what's happening here. I think it's exactly what's happening. So that's why I was interested in this, because they're anticipating some return to work, but they're basically anticipating we're gonna add in more and more features because we're gonna be doing more and more virtually.
Well, a lot of companies are following the Twitter route. Microsoft, Dropbox, saying, this may be the new normal. This may be how we work from now on.
So I had to go into Manhattan for the first time. I had to go pick up books. How old-fashioned of me at my office. I went in for the first time since March 12th.
Wow.
And
what was it like?
Well, the city was crowded again. I mean, there were people. The traffic wasn't bad, but there were people around on the streets and stuff. But I go into my school and I have to do the fill in the form and say I'm not sick and all that stuff. I had to watch a video explaining what COVID was, and then I go up to my office. We have 2 stories of this building, and there's one guard, and he's happy to see a human being. He's a wonderful social guy, Jermaine, and he was just happy to see somebody, and we chat for a few minutes and make sure everybody's okay. And then I go upstairs, and there's a sticker on my door that basically was like a Holiday Inn toilet, sanitized for your protection.
Holy cow!
And the 2 tiniest little alcohol wipes I've ever seen in my life, they're available on my desk, I guess, to do the phone or whatever. And I pick up my books and I go, and then I leave, and that was that. It was weird. And so I used to commute, every damn day to the city. I didn't drive into the city. I drove to Jersey City and took the PATH train. But it was an hour and 45 each way, and I've gained all that life. And I just kind of can't imagine doing that again.
A lot of conferences going virtual. You mentioned Teams will be used by CES in January. VidCon is going to be virtual not only this year, but next year. Jim Lauterbach, our good friend, who's the director of VidCom, says this summer, 2021, VidCom will be via Zoom, and there'll be sessions all year round now.
As there can be.
Yeah, nearly 1 million people tuned into digital events held by VidCon over the last few months. You're a big VidCon fan because it's a chance to see the up-and-coming YouTube stars.
I'm a member of the Industry Advisory Board.
Yeah.
Nothing to disclose there because I don't get anything for it, but I'm a member of the advisory board.
VidCon now, which includes speakers and experts from YouTube, Instagram, Twitch, TikTok, and more, will pick up again on October 27th.
I'm going to all kinds of academic conferences I couldn't go to otherwise now.
Yeah, I don't think it's so bad.
Papers no, it's not.
Yeah.
As long as you remember that they're happening. That's my big challenge.
They're in my calendar, exactly. But there's one, Stacey, that is going to have some in person, and it's going to be Australian time, so I'm not going to do that.
And according to the Journal of the American Planning Association, all these people who don't have to work in the office anymore are creating Zoom towns all over the West. And it's kind of an interesting situation because so many people are working from home. They're moving out of the big, expensive communities.
I live in a Zoom town.
You live in a Zoom town? Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
They tend to be small towns near major public lands and ski resorts.
Olympic Peninsula, baby.
Yeah. Sandpoint, Idaho, which is on a lake near a popular ski resort, had already begun to see an increased migration over the last decade, but even more people are starting to arrive. And I could tell you here in Petaluma, all the houses have been snapped up because we're kind of in an exurb, and a lot of houses are coming on the market all of a sudden because people who've lived here for years are saying, finally, I can dump this place and move back to New York City.
Same here.
Wow.
So if each of you, if you could go to a different country and still work because it's fine because we're all virtual, what country would you pick?
Okay, my heart loves Helsinki, but I am aware that that is in Finland. No, yes. I was like,
yes,
no,
you're right.
Yes. It's part of my. I went to like all the Scandinavian countries, so I'm a little confused from.
Love Scandinavia. Love it.
But it is really dark and cold in the winter, so I'm not 100% sure I could hack that year-round.
I want to buy. Go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say Portugal.
Portugal's very affordable.
Good deals there.
Very
good weather, good food.
Lovely place, lovely people. And your Portuguese is good?
No, but I could work on it.
I want to buy Trey Ratcliffe's house. He's selling his house in Queenstown, New Zealand. And it's gorgeous. I'm sure I can't afford it. I can't believe how gorgeous it is.
They don't let foreigners buy houses in New Zealand.
I bet not. That's one of the reasons it's the best place to go.
They don't let you travel to New Zealand.
You can't even go there. Well, can you go to Portugal?
Who knows?
No. Can't go anywhere.
Yeah, pretty soon, I think. Yeah.
Barbados is offering a year-long visa for people who want
There's a few of those.
Yeah, all of the Caribbean, Antigua, a lot of places in Caribbean have special
So there was a great video. Iceland is going to open up for tourists, and they're doing the testing, they're doing the stuff. So CBS had an interview with the prime minister, who's wonderful. She's, young, brilliant woman. And in the middle of the interview, Washington Post was. In the middle of the interview, the earthquake hits. And she continues with aplomb. She's like, oh my God, there was no, and everything's fine in Iceland, and we get those once in a while. And it's okay. You should still come as a tourist. It's fine. Normally they would tell us to go under the desk, but it was not that big, so I'm still here talking to you.
Just a little shaker. We're like that here. We're like that here. All right. I think we've done enough damage to the podcast sphere for the moment. Let's get ready for our picks of the week coming up next. Mike, did they tell you we do picks of the week at the end of the show?
They had told me last time I was on, but they didn't warn me. But I'll grab something off my desk.
I'll give you a little time. Grab something off your desk while Stacey Higginbotham gives us her thing of the week.
Today's thing.
She's grabbing something off her desk. Oh, I recognize that.
Oh, you got it.
Echo Dot Bit Clock.
Move it to the right a little tiny bit there.
Oh, there we go.
I
was like,
the camera to the left. There you go. Yeah. Oh, that's pretty. It looks like a sphere.
It is a sphere. And it is, I'll put this is a can of something for reference.
Okay.
This is the dot.
There's your Topo Loco.
59.
Okay. Yeah.
This is actually my local
Topo
Talking
Chico.
Rain.
Ooh, Talking Rain.
The one thing I don't like, well, there's two things I don't like. One, I was worried that these were going to be too bright. They are not too bright, but they are also not very large. And this sits across my room, so I can't see it at night because I have. Yeah. So that's a bummer. The other thing I don't like is I don't like the top here where this
looks like blemishes.
It's ugly, and it's plastic. It's a hard plastic. It's not like the stuff. Yeah, I don't love this.
How much?
So here's
How much was it?
Mike. This is for $59.99.
How's the sound?
This is the dot. This is the tiny one. I don't love the sound. And I can't talk about any of the others because I'm under embargo. But next week, maybe I'll tell.
Yes, because there are other better sounding speakers.
The dot and this are available now. I also would tell everybody, because it would be remiss of me not to. There's a brand new June oven out.
Another one?
A brand new one, and mine is it's not about to die, but it's kind of like suffering a little. So I am excited. I will be buying the next one.
A year?
I've had it for 4.5 years. I've used it 2 to 3 times a day, every single day.
Well, you need a new one. It's worn out.
So that is available to you for pre-order. The fancy schmancy version comes with all the tools you need to do things like cook a pizza, wood-fired pizza, except not wood-fired, and other things. That's $9.99. And then there's a less fancy version that is $7.99. And then the normal version, which is just the oven without all the fancy trays and stuff that you need to use for things like air frying. And that is, I believe, $5.99.
Yes.
The fancier you go, the sooner it will ship. And then the other thing to note is they have a new cooking thing that I guess you have to have the right kind of tray in. So it's kind of fancy. Like you may have to do the fancy one. I need to talk to June to figure this out. But they're doing a rotisserie mode because they realize they can control the carbon heating elements and just like, it's hot. Now this one's hot.
Don't rotate the chicken, rotate the heat.
The heat. Isn't that great? I'm like, those are the kind of like mental things. You're like, oh crap, it's software. I can do this.
That's really cool.
So anyway, that's my 2 things. I helped you out there, Mike.
Wow, I really like that. Wow. My thing is just a blatant plug for my son. He's become a drone pilot, Hank Laporte. He's on Instagram at Hank Laporte, and there's a few of his videos up there. I am just kind of blown away what he's doing. This is a night harvest at Hudson Ranch in Napa, and it's pretty cool what they're doing. His goal now is to get something called a FPV drone, first-person video drone, which they fly very fast. You wear a visor to fly them, and they're being used to create extreme drone videos where, I don't know. It's going to be wild. Anyway, these are really beautiful videos.
Wow, those are wonderful.
Yeah.
So we have a leading drone and journalism expert at my school.
Do you really?
Yeah. No, so we're teaching this.
This drone stuff, it's amazing. It's really amazing. And so he's becoming very adept. He was flying his drone under the Golden Gate Bridge, I think, a couple of days ago. But
Is that legal?
No. I said, son, I don't want to know about it. But he loves getting the surfers. It's pretty cool what you can do with a drone now.
The other person who loves drone stuff is Richard Gingras at Google.
Really?
Oh, he loves it. He flies. He takes his drone whenever he travels when we used to.
So I thought I'll give my boy a little plug. He's Hank Laporte on Instagram.
Well, you should.
Yeah. Yeah, he's doing some really neat stuff with the drones. Jeff, your number of the week.
Well, let me see. Which one am I going to pick out here? I think, so Pitney Bowes does a regular survey of parcel shipping index. It reached 103 billion parcels shipped globally in 2019. So this is pre-COVID. Imagine what's going to happen then. Total value of $351 billion. Every second, 3,248 packages are shipped.
Jesus. 3,248 every second. Holy cow.
China has 63.5 billion parcels. The U.S. only 14.7 billion. What does that tell you about the comparable economies? Yes, one is bigger than the other, but that says e-commerce has gone berserko in China.
Wow.
Well, they also have a largest
parcel
and a lot more people and a lot more land.
A lot more land. Yeah, so it grew 26% year on year.
Yikes.
Followed by Norway, which grew 24% year on year.
Huh.
This is everything you ever wanted to know about parcel shipping.
It is.
And then
from
some.
2013, there were 10 parcels per person to now 27. Again, this is before COVID.
Wow.
Oh, my God.
I actually
feel like I get.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I get like 300 parcels a year. I was just thinking, like, how many packages do I get a year? At least one a day.
It's all work, Stacey. It's all work for you. We know.
The TSA, speaking of numbers, is now talking about the number of travelers coming through checkpoint travel. This is 1 year ago, it was 2.1 million. It was 1 year ago, same weekday. It's 662,000, but that is up a lot. In fact, it got up to 1 million on October 18th. So the numbers...
How low did it get in this
Oh,
chart?
it got pretty low. The numbers are going up. People are getting back in the air. If I go back to March, or rather April, 114,000 was one of the low points.
Yeah, go back to April 6th, because that's when Quibi launched.
Yeah, it took people right out of the air. Yep. So travel is going up. And in fact, it broke 1 million for the first time in a long time on October 18th. That's less than half of the normal total from 1 year ago. But still, it's coming back. It's surprising even to think about it. 1 million people traveling in one day.
I'm not ready
by
to.
air.
I'm
not
ready
either.
to fly?
No.
No.
Nope.
No, I'm not getting in that tube with a.
Not going anywhere.
No.
The flight to nowhere, the Australian flight to nowhere, it's just insanity. I'm going to risk, and I'm not going to get anywhere.
Yeah.
What do you get? Nothing. It's not so much fun to fly that I would just do it as recreationally. I don't get that.
I do miss the cookies in the Alaskan lounge. The molasses cookies are really delicious.
Okay, there you go. All right, Mike, we gave you some time. You got anything for us?
I got something. This was something I got from Kickstarter just recently, which is, let me see if I can get it here so it doesn't fade away. It's a little mini, I got to move back
Looks
here.
like it says Mover Erase.
Mover Erase. It's a little mini whiteboard that's magnetic.
Ooh.
And I can pop it onto my screen.
It's better than a Post-it note.
That's fun.
It's a basic Post-it note sized whiteboard, and it's got a magnet in it. Yeah.
Right? It was just one of those things where I had opened up Kickstarter and I saw it and I said, yeah, that is useful. So I just got them.
Well, you weren't alone. They raised $145,000. I presume they're going to start selling them. That's really cool. So it has a backing.
Colors? Yeah, they have different colors.
Good, because I was like, white and put them on my whiteboard.
Well, now that's a little bit Coles to Newcastle, but still. Yeah. So don't use sticky notes. Use mover erases.
How many did you buy?
I forget. They have these different bundles, so I think I ended up with 12 of them.
That's really cool.
You see, I have about. Let me see here. Can you see that pile there? That's about 12 big whiteboards.
Yeah, he has all these whiteboards. It's so bizarre. You don't ever want to erase them? Is that the reason?
Well, I outlined the book on it, and I want to go back and change it, and then I do eventually. But then the problem is you leave the ink on the whiteboard for too long, and it's impossible to clean up.
Oh.
No. You use Windex.
I know, but it's yucky.
Oh. I tracked my daughter's height because I'm an idiot on a whiteboard, and so I had to go over it with permanent marker.
No,
I know.
that is not commitment. That is not commitment. That is
so
not
at
good.
the bottom, I had to write exactly how high it was up from the floor in our old house.
You didn't want to write on a wall or anything?
Well, we move so often.
Oh, I guess too permanent.
So
my kids' growth. Those, what do you call that? The growth chart.
Growth charts.
All my kids' growth charts are in a house that we don't own anymore.
Yeah, so I at least own the whiteboard, and I know exactly how high up I need to keep it so her measurements stay accurate. It works.
So clever.
It was unintentional.
It's a whiteboard. Honey, you're not going to be around long, so let's just put it on this whiteboard.
I know.
I'm not sure we want to keep you or not. You weren't adopted, but you might be.
We were just excited, and she was there. I was like, "Oh, let's mark it." And then we marked it another time, and then because I never cleaned my whiteboard, and now I have a record of my daughter's height.
It's actually really cool, and you can bring it with you, which is it's turned out it was the right thing to do. We have come to the end of this fabulous show. Mike Masnick, I am so glad you were here for our lengthy discussion of the Google Antitrust action. We didn't need to really go into it. I thought we did a good job. It was fine. Yeah.
I think the DOJ waited till I was on the show to do that.
They knew. They kept saying, it's going to be any day now. TechDirt.com is the place to read Mike's great writing. He also has a podcast there. Is it a daily podcast?
No, it's weekly.
Once a week. Casey Newton's on your most recent one. That's awesome. I can't wait to hear that. TechDirt.com. Thank you, Mike. We really appreciate it.
Sure.
Mr. Jeff Jarvis, you all know him. He's the director of the Town Knight Center for Entrepreneurial Journalism. I should hum this to Google. At the Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism at the City University of New York. BuzzMachine.com. At Jeff Jarvis. Many books, many more coming. He's a prolific.
One, I hope.
At least one more on Gutenberg. Thank you, Jeff. And Stacey Higginbotham, StaceyOnIoT.com is her website. Get the newsletter. It's free. What?
I have two things.
Two things.
Sorry. One, I just said that you should use Windex on your whiteboard. I use it on mine because mine's glass, but I forgot that normals don't. You shouldn't do that. So I'm sorry. I don't want people to.
Louise.
I know.
Thank
this was going to be
God
horrifying.
For Section 230, we'd be in deep trouble.
I was going to say, without Section 230.
Oh, my God. I'd be responsible for many whiteboards being damaged.
And then just the other thing, next Tuesday, I'm doing an event on the smart home. And I forgot to promote it. And I'm sorry, can I promote it really fast?
You didn't forget. You're doing it right now. Go to StaceyOnIoT.com, click the events tab, and you can go. It's free, right? To register
it's free.
Level Up the Smart Home.
We'll be talking about like domestic violence and the smart home and using connected devices to surveil people. We're talking about sustainability. It's going to be really awesome. And you should totally come.
Yay. Yay. Free to sign up and always fascinating. October 27th, 9 a.m. Pacific to noon. That's great. And fortunately, thanks to the candy lobbyists, daylight saving time doesn't end till the day after Halloween. So you don't have to do any adjustment. 9 a.m. Pacific is going to be 9 a.m. Pacific, October 27th. Our show is normally 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern every Wednesday. Right now, that's 2100 UTC, but come November 1st, we're going to set our clocks back, and that means it will be 2200 UTC, but you don't have to worry about that yet, unless your summertime has ended, which I think it is, and then you have to figure that one out. You can watch us live at, this is why live is really not worth it, twit.tv/live. There's audio and video. If you're doing that, chat with us, irc.twit.tv. On-demand versions that you can listen to any time of the day or night are available at the website, twit.tv/twig. There's a YouTube channel all about This Week in Google. That's the whole thing, is all there, every show. So you can watch there, subscribe there. But the best thing to do, get a podcast client and subscribe in that. That way you'll get it automatically the minute it's available, audio or video. Thank you, everybody. Thanks to our hosts. Thanks to all of you for watching. We'll see you next time on This Week in Google. Bye-bye.
Be sure to check out the other shows on the network, like my other show, Hands On Wellness. I love to share different tips and tricks that's going to help you get a better grasp on your personal wellness. Just go to twit.tv/how and subscribe now.